Good evening, everybody. This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Weeks Show. We're coming to you live from Barbados, right here in the Caribbean, and everybody's busy on the streets. It's Christmas time, and when once it's Christmas in the Caribbean, we get really festive and get really carried away. But it's a little difficult for a lot of people in Barbados at this time, and we're going to talk a bit about that today. But I just want to say good evening to Heathcliff, who's joining me from Barbados. I know Heathcliff. Heathcliff is from Barbados, always with those very thoughtful comments. I know Heathcliff's comments. Good evening, Heathcliff. How are you doing? How are you doing? Looking forward to the Christmas time and the holiday period. Sir Alfred Benjamin. Good night, loyal sons and daughters, all locked on from Brooklyn, New York City. You're always locked on, Sir Alfred Benjamin. Diana Seeley. Hi, Diana. How are you? You're locked on as well. Hi, Diana. Great to see you tonight. And I'm going to ask you to share. How many of you were on with us until 11 o'clock the other night? On a Monday night, we were on until 11 o'clock, You believe that? Anderson, you believe Anderson Bolden that we were on until 11 p.m.? Oh my goodness. Merlene Seeley. Good evening, Marcia, and all locked on. Merlene, where are you watching from? Anderson, you were on. You were on. Yeah, Anderson said that it was 8787. Hey, 8787. Good evening to all members of the People's Sovereign Opposition. And, I'm glad that we continue to speak this into the atmosphere. We must remember in Barbados, remember, guys, don't forget, we do not have an opposition in the parliament. We do not have an opposition in the Senate. Okay? It is us. It is all we have is us. We have the people of Barbados. And when we come on here in the evening, sometimes I know you might say, Marlene or Sir Alfred, wonder what it's doing. But I'm going to show you some things that's happening. We're gonna take a look at some of the things that's happening, right? Yes. Yes, Anderson. Good night, Jefferson Roberts. We must not give up. They listen to the show. I am telling you. I remember the prime minister talking about Jobby Water, that they're talking about Jobby Water. They got that from this show. And a lot of things that we talk about, we hear it in the mainstream media. We hear it on brass tacks. Did you notice that all of a sudden we are now hearing from the Attorney General? Do you remember that we dealt with that on this show and saying we are not hearing from the Attorney General? And all of a sudden this week we start to hear from the Attorney General. The opposition is working. The opposition is working. Do not get discouraged. Do not get discouraged. Why do you think they're taking so long with the child protection bill? Because they know we're watching them. They know we're watching them. And I tell you this, when January comes, those marches are going to start back. We are going to start back our marches come January. Yes, we are going to. Mystic Angel, good night. Good night, Mystic Angel. We're going to start back our protest marches. The loyal opposition, that's why loyal daughter 6666, good night. We are the opposition, and we don't oppose for opposing sake. They say we're noise makers, She said, what does she say? Those people that they love to talk. They love to talk. Well, this is one prime minister that we know she loves to talk, right? And so the only way to deal with her, we have to talk too. And I'm glad that you are all coming on every night. Don't give up the fight. Don't give up the fight. I know sometimes you might say, what is it really doing? No. They know we're watching. They know we're watching, and they are watching the program as well. I tell you that they're watching the program as well. Look at how they respond to things in the media. And they're concerned about this show. They would like for us to stop. Now, the good thing about this is that, listen, guys, nobody is paying any bills on here for us. You see, there's no advertising going on here. We're not obligated to anybody in the opposition. We come on here and we talk. All we have to do, make sure we don't we're not libelous, right? We're not libelous. We're not telling lies, right? And we speak our opinion. We speak our mind on here, and that is what happens. And to the Christians who say, all they talk about is politics, let me tell you something. When you decide that you're going to go and vote, right, and you vote, you're a Christian, but you vote, that is politics too. That is politics. And as long as we have breath in our bodies, we will hold those that we put in office accountable. We will not be intimidated at all. Yes, Diana, that is already canceled in the spirit. We are ready in the spirit. No stopping. We're going forward. I remember when they were, who remember when they were going to try to put in the safe zones in Barbados? You remember? And we, through this show, through Bongo and Lumumba, through Emmanuel, and all the other podcasts that we had, we sent out a warning and we sent out a war cry. And they had to step back. They had to step back. And we're seeing now they're very, very scared, even with the Constitution. Do you think they're not scared about putting out that new Constitution? They are. And they're planning to do it in 2024. That's why we can't stop the marches in 2024, Clive Osborne. CAMR, we can't stop CAMR. We can't stop. We are the voice of the people. And they watch the show. They listen to the show. They're logged into the show. Everywhere I go in Barbados, if I go to the supermarket, if I go to Oystins, anywhere that I go in Barbados, somebody's telling me that they're logged onto the show. And I want you to know, guys, don't accept when they tell you that you're a troublemaker because you logged on. Somebody told me today that they received a message that when they logged on to the show, that something is so a message comes up to say that they've noticed that they've logged on to the Marcia Week show. And I don't know if anybody else has gotten that, but this person is a lawyer who called me and she wanted me to be aware of it. So I want to know if there are any other loyal opposition members that get a message that says that they notice that you are noticed to be participating in the Marcia Week show. I don't know if this is something that YouTube does regularly. Yeah, I don't know, but what I'm saying is, guys, that that if you've been getting any messages, I don't know if they're trying to intimidate the people who are watching the show. But I want you to realize this has been going on for months. And a lot of people said to me, Marcia, you have to be careful what they're going to do. I'm still standing here. Caswell is still standing. Kimar is still standing. Pastor Ferdinand is still standing. Who else comes on? Maxine McLean comes on sometimes. Lynette used to come on when her schedule allowed. We're still standing. We're still standing. We are not going to go for the bluff. Yeah, we're not going to bluff. And that's why I say you keep sharing this. The kind of education and the kind of material that's covered on the show, I'm telling you, you're not going to hear it on mainstream media. Did you hear all that happened on here with Guyana and the history that we're getting? Have you heard that on the television in Barbados? Have you heard it on the radio? Where you live, have you heard that? The kind of education that we're getting on here. We are becoming an electorate that's educated so that when we go to make decisions, we know exactly what we're deciding on. We know exactly, and we're not going to be telling you how to vote. Because I've been accused as well. This show has been accused as well of maligning the Democratic Labour Party. Do you remember? Do you know that? However, do you remember when it was said that we were working for the Democratic Labour Party? But now I'm being told that we're maligning the Democratic Labour Party because we ask questions. The same level of accountability that we are going to hold the BLP to, we should hold the DLP to, and we should hold all parties to it. And so because I ask the questions of DLP, where do you stand on the comprehensive sexuality education? DLP, where do you stand on the Samoa Agreement? Where do you stand on all of the references to sexual orientation and all of that in the Constitution? Huh? DLP, where do you stand on these issues? Where do you stand, DLP, on the LGBTQ agenda? So if I can ask the BLP that, I should be able to ask to write ADG, we should be able to ask the DLP the same thing, and any third party that is coming in. We're not going to buy pig in a poke, according to Errol Barrow said, right? No, we're going to know what we're doing. We're an educated electorate, and that's what we're using these programs to do, to educate us. And that's why we would know right away when they don't want to put Leslie Haynes as Chief Justice. We know something is wrong with that, because through him, the allegation is that we were defrauded, right? It's alleged that we were defrauded. The people were defrauded through NIS. And the changes that were made in NIS, and it's alleged that he knew about those changes and did nothing to protect the people of Barbados. What about election when all those thousands of people did not get to vote? We discussed that on this show. So the electorate is becoming educated, and that's why they want to stop the show. Yeah? Everywhere she goes, Mystic is saying she's advocating for people to watch the show and to get wise. Wise up. Wise up. This show is for the people. It's not an anti-Mia show. It's not an anti-BLP show. It's not an anti-DLP show, because no, the DLP is quarreling and complaining. Huh? But it's not any and it is a show for the people of Barbados. When we come on here, nobody's paying anybody on here. This is a show for the people of Barbados. That's why we are the opposition. And I tell you this, don't let anybody take that away from you. Don't you let anybody take that away from you, Barbados. Always, always be able to open your mouth and to speak out. Always. That must not be taken away from you. It doesn't matter what intimidation strategies that they use. It doesn't matter what they try to do, the fear tactics. Oh, they're going to come after you. Well, go ahead. Go ahead. Because I'm speaking the truth. Because I'm standing up for the people of Barbados. And because the people of Barbados are speaking. Come on. This is a democracy. So when the PM is going to talk about talking about, we're making a lot of noise, and these noise makers, and she used a word that's called, is it tyranny? I can't remember the term that she uses. Treason. That some of these people should be charged for treason. Can you imagine? So this is basically the Prime Minister is telling me that this is a dictatorship. Yeah, people they're telling me this is because we're asking questions on here. We want to know. So there are many things that we want to know, and there are things that we're not in agreement with, because there's no opposition in Parliament and there's none in the Senate. So we do not. What we're saying is that we are suspicious, and we're unsure, and we don't like the fact that it's alleged that the CG. Right, the Chief Justice is going to seem to be Leslie Haynes, because Leslie Haynes have not dealt justly, in our opinion. The appearance of it to us is that he's not being just to the people of Barbados. Justice was not served to the people of Barbados when the thousands of Barbadians could not vote during the election, because the only country in the world, actually, the only country in the world, go and research it. where because you had COVID, you could not vote. And who was the man, the chairman, who was at the top of the Electoral Boundary and Commission? Leslie Haynes. And so we are using this show to say to those in authority that we're not okay with that. We're not comfortable with that. We believe we're not going to get justice with that. And that's okay. Yeah, we reserve the right to ask the question of the police commissioner and of the police service in Barbados. Did you confiscate guns, ammunition, and drugs at a party headquarters here in Barbados? Is that true? And if it is true, where are the arrests? We have the right to ask that, Barbados. And don't you ever, Barbadians, don't you ever, my Bajan brothers and sisters, don't you ever give that up. You loyal sons and daughters, don't you ever give up that right, the right to ask questions, the right to hold the people accountable. Don't you ever let anybody walk on you. Don't you ever. We will continue regardless of who is in power, regardless of which party is in power. Don't you ever think that, oh, well, my grandmother was this and my grandfather was this. No, we're too educated to do that. Do you know how hard it is, how people are suffering in this country at this moment? Do you know how difficult it is for people to buy anything? Did you hear the owner of Carlton A1, what's his name? I can't remember his name right now. Saying that how hard it is for people in this country at this time. Do we care about that? Do we care about the numbers of people who did not get their tax returns? So why should we shut up? Huh? Absolutely not. I am telling you, as long as I live in this country, and even if I don't live in this country, I'm going to talk. I'm going to open my mouth, and I know you will too. We're too educated. Our panelists have educated us. We're too educated to turn back now. And I've been talking to Mr. Franklin. Listen, when January morning comes, we got to get up there. When January steps in, we've got to get back on the road. We have to go out there because 2024 they plan to put in to start this child protection bill, and we're going to squash that. And they're trying Andrew Bino. Yes, Andrew Bino. Thank you, Miss Knight. Yeah. So I want to thank that person who brought for us. I see Mr. Franklin is there. I'm going to bring him in very soon once he's ready. Because yes, I want to thank that member of the opposition, the loyal opposition, who came by my house today because my laptop would not start, Mr. Franklin. I don't have a laptop right now, and we're trying to get somebody coming in from the US to bring it in for us. And I said, oh boy, what am I going to do this evening? And I was just here and talking to an opposition member, and they turned up at my house with a laptop and said, listen, you got to start that show. And she said, you hold on to this. This is my granddaughter's laptop. Hold on to it till you get your laptop. So I'm holding on, and I was able to start up the show this evening. So I am so grateful. I am so grateful to the loyal opposition and the fact that they want us to be on. Good night, Mr. Franklin.
Yeah, good night. I have a similar story. I'm encouraged. The night we were here, you were not on yet, and Freddie was having a problem trying to get on, and my cell phone rang, and it was somebody telling me what to do and what to press because I'm computer novice, And one of the opposition they called me during the show and tell me this is what you got to do to get on, and that's what we did, So it tells me though that the people want to hear us.
Yes.
That we are not just blowhards keeping noise. that that what we are doing is resonating in this community, and that's why it is bothering the politicians. That is why they decide to kill me. They said I was so sick I can't work. You know, and that thing reverberated because my daughter in New York heard about it.
Oh
But
my
she said
God.
she no 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 no. She's smarter than that. She said when she was told, she said no. I thought my father all the time, and if he was sick, he would have told me. So she was able to think my son in Bali he heard and all kinds of stuff. It is all over the place. But I'm here, I'm alive, and I'm kicking.
Yes, they will not have their wishes, and the people are logged on. The other night we had almost 1,000 people logged on the other night and we were on for 4 hours, Mr. Franklin.
Yeah, I
Four
remember.
hours. There was over 900 and something people logged on to that broadcast on Monday. Because people want to hear about Guyana. What we're presenting, Mr. Franklin, is what the others are not presenting, and so people want to hear about Guyana. They want to hear what is happening. And I want them to know that we're going to be talking about Guyana again tonight. That we do have the same gentleman is going to be coming on the show tonight, and he would be on earlier. He understand the EST and AST time now, so he'll be on at 9 o'clock, not minutes to 10. And but we want to talk with you, Mr. Franklin, excuse me, about what's happening with the nurses, because I know that this is important. I see Kimar is setting himself up to come on, and he will just indicate to me when he's ready. So, Mr. Franklin, what's happening with you? Talk to us about what's going on with the nurses at this time.
Well, the latest set of nurses who complain or who make their complaint forceful because they complain all the time, every day. Were the nurses at the Winston Scott Polyclinic down Lady Mead.
Mm-hmm.
They were complaining for years about the awful state of that building and the conditions under which they have to work. They get sick, and as a result of the conditions at work, and that was confirmed by no lesser person than Mr. Do Bad, I mean Do Good. And he said, no, it is a slip of the tongue. And
Yes.
and he said, I hope you all remember, he was talking to the press or somebody or the host, whatever, I can't remember because I didn't listen to it too carefully. But I saw it in the newspaper where he was saying that a lot of these sick buildings are a result of the air conditioning and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, in some parts of this building, there's air conditioning, but the parts where the most matter, like where you're treating patients, like for instance, the room where you dress the people who have wounds,
Mm-hmm.
that room is like an oven. You cannot go in there for more than 5 minutes and not start to sweat. I know because I've been in the room and I start to sweat quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to work in there. Nurses have to go and change working in that room during the day
Mm-hmm.
because the place is so hot and they soak up their uniforms. And they are feeling for the patients. People talking about nurses are bad and all kind of stuff. If they understood the conditions that nurses work under, they would cry. And the pittance that they get for
Mm-hmm.
doing it, because nurses required to have a 4-year degree, and then there are the lowest paid persons in the public service who are required to have a degree to perform their duties.
Mm-hmm.
And they are paid. They start at the senior clerk level. A person who was a clerical officer and been there for too long, and the people decide, well, he's a good clerk. You have 4 O levels, and that's it. These have to have 5 or so CXCs, rather, they call them these days, to get into the college to study for 4 years to come and work for the same side with somebody who only got 4 or 5. You see
Mm-hmm.
where I'm coming from? Okay. But then everybody cannot do what nurses do. And you would expect, if you're going to have people in there, and mind you, you are working in conditions where and treating people who are not well in
Right.
a building that is dirty, it is filthy, it has fungus, mold, um, termites. rat, but most droppings are rat droppings. I didn't check to see which one it was
Wow. In
because
the
I
hospital. At the
this
hospital.
this is in the clinic. This is in the
In the
Winston Scott
clinic.
Polyclinic,
Right. Oh my
right?
gosh.
And we have people in administration at the clinic. I had to complain about the officer in charge because at the meeting we had with them, she said that these things that existed when she came there in 2020. And I said, "What did you
Mm-hmm.
do? What did you do? Did you write to the ministry and say I cannot ask my staff to work in here these conditions because that is
Mm-hmm.
her duty.
Mm-hmm.
Her duty is to not only take care of patients but to take care of the staff." And you have staff working in conditions that she acknowledged to be bad when she came there in 2020 and has done nothing about it during the tour. Because what? Let me go back. When I was on my way to a meeting at a hotel in Christchurch,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the nurses called me. One of the nurses in Unity Workers Union called me, and she said, "Mr. Franklin, we cannot continue to work in this place. This is too bad today." And she's complaining.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I said, "Where are you now?" She said, "We're inside." But I said, "Well, go outside and wait till they come." But I'm going to Christchurch. I have to do a disciplinary hearing, and I'll be back around 12.
Mm-hmm.
So I stay outside till I get there. But of course, some other union jumped in and pretended that they were in on this thing. But I don't mind because I'm not looking for the glory. I'm looking to see that the nurses have good conditions to work under and
Yes.
in.
Yes.
And then the permanent secretary came over, and I must thank him. I people are people curse public service and thing, but he is a breath of fresh air. Um, I don't know if I compliment him though that they might keep him, they might because he's only acting, but he tries.
Yeah.
He goes out there. This is not the first time I've had to deal with him, and when we were in this at the polyclinic in St. Philip, he came over. We went through the building. He agreed that something must be done, and he was new. He was just there months, and he closed the clinic and said, "Well, we will get these things done." And he delivered something that his predecessor and the person who was predecessor of that person should have done, but he got it done in a week. It might not be perfect because some of them were structural, but at least he had it. He brought it to a habitable stage, and I compliment this gentleman. I I have nothing but praise for him right now. One of these days you can get some licks too, but that's the game. But right
Mm-hmm.
now, I have nothing but praise for him. He actually um came out. He went through the building with us, and at one part of the building, he was brave enough to go down in the back because when they got to a particular section, it smelled so bad down. I said, "Look, I am not going down in there." And nurse brought me a mask, and I said, "Mask or no mask, I ain't going down there. You guys can work in here if you want to, but I ain't walking. I ain't going to that place. Smell too bad."
And this is a
It's
place. This is a place. Okay. Somebody saying you're low and not clear. Wow. It's everybody. Is this the sentiment of others? Because I'm hearing him very clear. Um.
I'm using my
Yeah. So
stuff.
unless you need to bring it closer, I don't know, but I don't understand. Yeah. Is everybody hearing Mr. Franklin? Okay. Somebody else is saying it's good. So Jacqueline, Jack Sobers, you probably want to turn up your computer. Okay, all right, go ahead. So it might be yours. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Franklin.
So I refused to go down there. The permanent secretary took the mask that was offered to me,
Mm-hmm.
and he went through to see for himself. I don't want to see for myself. I smell for myself, and
Right.
that was enough to tell me that I ain't going down there. Especially when the people say I'm so sick, I don't really want to go down there and make
Yeah.
myself worse. But I can help that. Um,
Oh, I just got it. I just got it. I was late on that one. I was late on that one.
but he went, he came back, and then we had a meeting. And UPW by then they came down pretending that they were the persons working for the workers. And the position of Unity was that our nurses in Unity, and the thing is, Unity Workers Union represents more nurses at that clinic than any other union in Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
So we said our nurses will not go back in there until it is fixed to our satisfaction. And the permanent secretary took the decision to fix the building. I tried his best to get it fixed, and he promised us, but I'm not going to. He even sent correspondence to that effect to both me and the general secretary of NUPW, and we will be touring the building tomorrow. And if it is to our satisfaction, I will tell my nurses that they can go back. But again, if it isn't to our satisfaction, it isn't because the permanent secretary didn't try. He's been trying. He's been working hard. And again,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to give Jack his jacket. And so far, I don't know. I'm going to put him in trouble because he he went up there and stuff. But you see, every clinic in Barbados
Yeah.
is bad. All. It might take less than $3 million to fix it, to fix them.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we took the $3 million instead to build a monument to the LGBT family and put it in town. That is to make you understand where the health of the nation is at stake.
At stake, yes.
But your priorities are so skewed or screwed that you would prefer to put up a monument when you don't have money. When we are
Uh-huh.
begging and we are borrowing every day from the IMF and whoever will lend us money, Kimar will tell you about that. But yet still, you're going to take money that we don't have, or that we could better deploy and make nonsense when you have Bajans, hardworking Bajans, who cannot afford private doctors and have to go to the polyclinics, and they have to sit down in heat and wait for the doctor for a doctor, and wait for their medication. They have to sit down in a place where the floors are dirty. You have water coming through the roof when it rains, and because the water comes through the roof, it gets into the concrete blocks, and then mold builds up on the outside. And what has happened before, they painted it over, but the paint
Mm.
doesn't hide
Right.
mold for too long, so it
Mm-hmm.
it, 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 um, it, it, it shines through again, and that is what has happened to our nurses, and some of them are getting sick. No, this is what happens in the public service. Contrary to law, the general orders provide that you can have extension of sick leave on full pay for 6 months. And if there's likelihood that you will still return to work after that 6 month period, you can get another 6 months. One person who was in charge of PAD, I'm not calling her name right now, sent out a circular countermanding the law. And nurses, because the government wants to save money, and before she said, but Prime Minister or Banner Minister, whatever you want to say, but this is not what the law requires. No, they're cutting them off and refusing to pay nurses. Now, a nurse who is appointed in the public service does not pay for the sickness benefit portion of the national insurance contribution. They do not pay because before national insurance, appointed public officers were entitled to their full salary for a year, and it would make no sense to make them entitled to their salary for a year and then make them eligible to receive 66 and 2/3% of their salary. Well, it would mean that every public officer, or most of them, will start getting sick very often because they will get a
Mm-hmm.
full salary plus 66 and 2/3%. So, Barrow, the right excellent Errol Walton Barrow, made the decision that public officers will retain their conditions of service, but they will not pay toward the NIS.
Mm-hmm.
So now you are telling people you're sick, but you went over 21 days, so we are not paying you. And you have to pay back the money that we paid you in error. There's not an error. It is
Mm.
that people are trying to balance the books on the back of poor people. When you should be paying these people, you're refusing it and then taking out the money. The unfortunate thing is, you are the paymaster. And if you say, but I ain't owe you no money, the people take it out anyhow.
Yeah.
My art, and that is wrong because if you and I have a problem, and you say, I owe you money, and I say, well, I owe you no money, you put me in court. Let somebody actually
Exactly.
you adjudicate the matter. But no, the government jerk their hand at people money tax and said they have the right under some piece of legislation that don't really make a lot of sense. You cannot take out money, and I can give you instances where persons work and just got a receipt because at the end of the month they said that they were paying so much. So this month now they give you the money. I
Yeah.
had that instance, but at the National Assistance Board with a young lady, and I had to get Winston to help her to get food and stuff that month. The Winston that they don't like,
Right. I was
right?
about to say that.
I
I
didn't
was
have
about
I didn't have anything in my little thing, and I called Winston, and Winston went to the house, took clothes, took food, money, so that that family could eat. But
Mm-hmm.
wow, the law is clear. You cannot take out a person's money and leave them with nothing.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the law about the Protection of Wages Act that protects statutory boards and other things, I even dare say it's public service too, but people argue that point and say no. But in that case, they were covered under the Act. And the Act said you can't take out more than a third. But they take out all.
Yeah.
They take out all.
See,
People
that's
don't understand.
the wickedness of these
It
people.
is evil.
Evil.
These are black people
Mm-hmm.
treating black people like dirt.
Yeah. And
And
these are the same people that's sending around the thing with the prime minister as on some magazine, and at the same time they're all lauding her, and at the same time the same prime minister who okayed $3 million of concrete in at Hera Square, and look how people are suffering. The people are sick in the country. The people are sick in these buildings. I have, we're going to come back to this, Mr. Franklin, but we have with us just for a couple minutes. We have with us Rachel Lane, guys. Rachel Lane is in the house, and she's going to just be talking to us about what's happening with her, because you had helped her to start her therapy, and we want to hear from her how the therapy is going, what's happening with that. And she started her pillow business, and I bought 2 pillows from her. And I know there's a pastor who went and got quite a number of pillows from her, I believe, and others are buying pillows. And so she's going to give us an update on what's happening with her. Just let me break and go to her, Mr. Franklin, because this is
sure.
on the same topic of justice for workers. Rachel, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Marcia and Caswell,
Yeah,
and
good
everybody.
evening.
Yes, good to have you. And we must remind the viewers who Rachel Lane is. Rachel Lane is at that time she was 28 years old, and she was working at the working in the street, cleaning the street in that program that they had. And she went to use a bathroom because they did not have any bathroom for these individuals, for the employees. And so she went to use the bathroom, and in trying to use the bathroom, she had to use the bush because they did not have bathrooms for them. And Rachel fell in the well, in a 30-foot deep well, and nothing was done for her. She was told at the time by Hinkson that she should have been happy that she had a job. And she was in the hospital. They brought I think the prime minister, she said, gave her a basket of goodies, and in her words, it was stale. The food was stale in the basket, and that's what she got. And so she came on this program, and the program responded to her so well. We were able to raise money for her to do or start her physical therapy, remember? Yeah, she we got that. She got that, those funds. And then we encouraged her so much, and she started to do her business again. And I know Caswell has helped her, with some other needed things. We don't need to say everything on the program. But and Caswell is also taken up the NIS case for her, and working on that for her. And I know that she's contacted a lawyer, so things are on the way for her. But I want her to just kind of give us a further update, uh, Rachel, on what's happening with you. Go ahead, Rachel.
Hi, good night to everybody. Hope everybody's doing okay. Well, I have started back my little business with the help and the confidence from you guys, especially Marcy and Mr. Caswell. They were my lifters. So basically, I have some orders out there, and I'm getting a quite amount of sales right now. I find that now I'm getting sales and everything is supposed to be going the way how it's supposed to be. I'm finding now that, my machine is running hot and all these little things is coming in play
Mm-hmm.
now that things is going the way it's supposed to go.
Yes.
So that's something that set me back right now. And then another thing that was setting me back is when I was making my money from the pillows, I had to be using that to pay my rent and then sometimes to get food for the children, bus fare, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really, really challenging because I don't have the help from their dads either. And it just, I try my best to just hold myself and keep myself together. I don't want to break down or anything. And,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to be out there on the road doing things that I shouldn't be doing to make myself sick or anything of the sort.
Yeah.
So I just trying to get myself there, make these pillows, make some money. And there's all kind of things just coming. Right
Yes.
now, I'm living here, but this lady, she came to this conclusion that she would let me help her sell off her stuff because she's looking to let down this house where I am and get a three-bedroom house elsewhere. She's supposed to be selling here probably or something like that. So her son told her get rid of the stuff. So I was helping her out by posting them on Facebook, selling them off, and I will get percentage off for it, which meaning it will help me with my rent.
Mm-hmm.
And with that going, then her boyfriend, every chance to get the opportunity, he's harassing me for sex. And I mean, like, it's unfair to me because I know that I probably would owe her for a week or two,
Oh
but
my.
that don't give him the right to come around me, approaching me with that manner. Because and then if I go and I go and tell her, I don't think she will believe me because I feel he did it with somebody else. And I realized that the young lady, she retaliated towards him. I didn't know what happened, but I get in the picture now, and it was a whole problem. He get her puddle and all that. So I just trying to get myself together so I can leave from here, and I will be more comfortable with my kids and continue to do what I am doing right now. Getting my pillows. I even talked to the lady and asked her to help me, to let me pay her monthly rather than weekly. That would have
Mm-hmm.
been better for me, but she doesn't want to do that. She don't care about my well-being. As far as I know, I told her that I'm trying to find work. I'm trying to get my pillows and the rest of stuff dealing with. And I also went to the NAS building today and they dropped off the form because I went yesterday with the doctor and I had him write a medical letter. Um, he told me that this letter will help me to get through or whatever. Because he was saying to me, why would the people give me a hard time at the hospital? Why would the people give me a hard time in the hospital just to write me a letter just saying what's going on with my body? He was like, you drop into a 30-foot well, you should have been I should have been home getting money coming in from the NS because at the end of the day, I did not put myself in that position to fall into the well. So I sometimes feel at this moment, sorry, at this moment, this is Christmas time coming up, and I feel very depressed about everything that's going on because I can't I can't do anything right now, and I love to do housekeeping. I love to do my pillows. I just love it, and to be living here, I feel depressed. Honestly, I feel depressed, and I cried. I cried today because I felt really down. And then like I find that a lot is crashing on me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to I'm blaming a lot on the government because I mean like why they putting me through all this? They cut my welfare check, my children getting welfare. They know that that is something that is helping me with my brain because I did told that to the lady as well. Apparently they decided to drop my right now from $700 to $500 to put me into more of a problem. And I
So
don't
your
know
your
why.
your welfare check was dropped from 7 to 500.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. And I heard you today, and I could feel that you were felt a bit depressed, and which is why I said, because I talk with you as much as I can, and help as much as I can, and I thought we needed to let the family know what was happening, and somebody said we pray against the spirit of depression, and that's what I felt was coming on. Guys, please share this live. Share the live, guys. This is share the live, and this is a real case, of what's happening out there. And Rachel is a beautiful human being. We don't want her to have to go like as some of these other women. I see that they're out. A lot of women are on the road, selling their bodies. Not that that's what Rachel is going to do. I don't want to bring that over. That's what's her intention. I'm just using that as an example that a lot of people are in a lot they're going through a lot of hardship, and women are turning to different things. You heard she said the man want to asking her for sex all the time, you know and she has her children and wants to live an upright life. So I told her, I said, come on and update the people because you are trying. I know. How many pillows did you make this week for the pastor, Rachel?
Well, he came to me at first, and I only had one pillow that he would have wanted. Because when I look back, I was looking, I was saying, all of the other pillows looks very small, but when I look at the pillow, I realized that it was a bigger pillow that he would have wanted a smaller one. So I had one pillow. So then he said that he was going to town to come back, and I was like, let me make the pillows now, so that when he's coming back from town, he can pick them up one time. So I contacted him and he came. He would have came like 2 days after. He told me that he was with you guys dealing with something like that. I think it's the meeting or something like that. He told me
Yes. Mhm.
he's coming to give me the sales and what's not, and I was very very happy because I had them there. It was I made them.
Wow.
There was four of them, and then I continued to do some more stitching after that because I said to myself, if anybody else comes for pillows, I want to at least have them there to hand that I can just grab them and give them to whoever.
Yeah. I know Mr. Franklin is eager to jump in, but I want to hear from those that are watching. And this is a very real life situation. And Rachel is trying to help herself, and she got the courage from us, and she started back her business. And I'm asking us tonight. I told her, I said, I will ask the people, can you buy at least? I know the machine is giving her a little trouble, and then she has to use the same foot with the machine, but she's still trying. But can we help her to have a good Christmas with these children? She needs a place to live as well. I know Mr. Franklin went to see where she lived, and we believe she needs a place to live. And not just her. This is the cry of so many persons throughout the region, throughout Barbados. And I hurt over it. Honestly, I
And
hurt over it.
I didn't want to talk about this over here, but I think it's time enough for me to just say it because I know sometimes like I have the thoughts coming over to end it, and I don't want to do it at all. Because at the end of the day, I need the Lord allow me to live when I fell into the well, and I don't want to end my life because it doesn't make sense to me or my children, and I am just trying right now.
Yeah. I heard you today. I could feel that because normally you will say, but I could feel, you were trying today. You were trying. And that's why I said, I need everybody to surround you. The love for the people is just not there. I've given up on this government, to spend $3 million. This young lady could do with a little bit of money. way less than $3 million. And and so this is heart wrenching. And we're trying to help her. So it's Christmas time, and she's making the pillows. She needs sales, people to buy the pillows. The machine not working. You know how it is. Sometimes you're trying to do a business. I know how tough it is, right? She's back. She has the back rent, so she's trying to work for the landlady to cover the back rent. Are we following what is going on? And at the same time, she's being sexually harassed. You see, people, asking for sex, so that all these things. It's not easy. It's not easy. And so we're saying, you will live and not die, Rachel. You're going to live and not die. Stay strong. But I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Franklin. Mr. Franklin, do you have any encouraging words for Rachel? 1 second, let me unmute you.
Yes, I do, because you would recall that I wrote to the National Insurance and I submitted the form that the National Insurance should have gotten when she fell into the well, which is a claim for injury benefits. Because initially, the government was saying, "Oh, she don't work for us; she's a private contractor."
Mm-hmm.
Nonsense. She's never a private contractor. But eventually, we were able to show that she wasn't, because the law is clear on that. It doesn't. I mean,
Really?
that yeah,
So
the
so
law is
you
very clear.
so that's overturned, that what they had written to her, you were able
Yes.
to get that changed.
That
Wow.
but what happened now is that I might understand it. I haven't gotten official correspondence to the other effect, but my understanding is that they have decided to honor the claim and pay her back for the injury benefits, which will help. And now, not only her, but I'm glad that this came up now, because I want to tell people, if you are injured on the job, the national insurance will pay your doctor bills, reasonable doctor bills. And even if you cannot walk, like her in her case, when her foot was damaged, she wouldn't be able to walk properly. And so she had to go to the doctors and stuff. In order to get to the doctor, they even pay taxi fare, they pay MRI, the same overseas if the treatment is not available in Barbados. All of that is available for your but it isn't even your contribution, because that's the amount the employers pay on your behalf, because you do not pay toward your own injury benefit. That portion comes from the employer. And but you are covered from the minute you step in that place. If you, like for instance, for maternity, you gotta be there, you gotta be working for a year. Sickness is about 9 months, you gotta be there. But if you get injured on the job, 10 seconds after you walk in the place, you are covered, and they will pay these bills. So since the government had refused to acknowledge that she was an employee, national insurance cannot pay her, because they only just last week or week before now went before the house and said that um, self-employed people can get injury benefits. They don't know what the hell they're doing, because that doesn't make sense. Because a self-employed person, they have to get an injury report. You're home working on your car or somebody's car, you're a mechanic, and you get injured, or you went in the backyard and you step on a nail or something or whatever. They don't know if it's an injury at work or you wave it with the saucepan, because you ain't got no evidence. Because in order to claim injury benefits, you have to have witnesses to corroborate it. So if you're working alone, unless you are a taxi driver, you get an accident, then everybody see the accident, so be it. But what they are telling people, or they will get injury benefits and all kind of stuff. Right now, in order for them to get injury benefits, they got to raise the people's contributions, because right now they don't pay for it. So you see, the government tries to fix things that they don't understand,
Mm.
and they don't ask people who understand. They go and ask their consultants who don't know
Right. So
anything.
so in Rachel's case now,
In
we
her
are now
case, now
yeah.
she was actually an employee of the government. She did not work for herself. She came to work when they tell her to come work. If she was a private contractor, she'd be able to bring her staff to work for her. So now that she didn't have all these privileges, so that makes her an employee. But the
Mm-hmm.
government was not paying the contributions. They had no they actually then took back and paid the contributions. And National Insurance now has agreed, because it was not her fault. because you have to make your claim to national insurance within 4 days, unless there's some extenuating circumstances. Like suppose you were in the hospital, you can't make the claim within 4 days. So they will
Okay.
you're still able to make your claim. National insurance will start with deducting benefits or whatnot, even honor the claim. So, but in her case, my understanding is, and I've had it on good authority, as I said, I've written to them and they have examined the issue and said that they will pay her. Why they're taking so long now, I don't understand, because I thought by now she would have gotten at least the first check,
Hmm.
you know. So and that one that would help her some bit, because for employment injury you get 90% of your salary
So that is
as
what's due to her now, but we're waiting for them to start the payment.
yes, 90% of your salary for the duration of the illness of the injury rather, up to a year.
Mm-hmm.
So you get injury benefits for a year. Actually, it is 312 days because national insurance do not pay you for Fred Sundays, right? So the 312 days is roughly a year. Taking out the 52 Sundays
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, it's 312 days. You will get paid for it.
Okay.
So and you will get 90% of your salary, and it is not bad. And then if the the claim is acknowledged by the employer and stuff, and you get the injury benefits, then national insurance is also obligated to pay reasonable doctor bills. And if the
Mm-hmm.
doctor says that you need an MRI, then national insurance will pay. If you have to treatment is not available in Barbados, national insurance will have to pay that too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that is why I do not want people dipping in the national insurance fund. That's why you see me get so angry when I
Mm-hmm.
heard what they were trying to do in the national insurance fund, because they claim that NIS, national insurance, is your lifeline. I see people now calling it NISSS, these nincompoops. Um, you know, the, the if you take that money out and spread it away, like what the government is doing now, because yes, I will, Galbez, I will call.
You
I
will
will call
give a
tomorrow.
call
I've actually pen in hand submit and write down notes. I take notes of what I gotta do when I on this show. So I will
yeah.
do that.
Yeah,
Right?
because I think she needs a little boost here now because she's so behind. She's a bit behind in the rent, and then because they, because when I met her first, she was the what she was getting from the welfare, she was able to, put a little bit on there to pay the rent, but the welfare is now cut. So with that being done, then it's tough for her to be able to gather everything together. Somebody's asking Rachel, we're gonna close off this segment now. But we're gonna keep talking about it tonight. But Rachel, someone is asking you if you would be able to, how many pillows you would be able to make. You can always message me, you don't have to say it publicly. And where we do something and we all, she could showcase the pillows either by Mr. Franklin's place. I see a volunteer in your place, Mr. Franklin, at the Unity.
By all means, no
I
problem
know,
at all.
I know you would not say no to that. You wouldn't say no. Unity Workers Union, that you can go up there and we'll display the pillows and you get to meet Rachel and buy the pillows and give her like an extra something, right? So we're gonna talk about that, Rachel, off the air. If there's anybody who wants to, just because she does, it's just a little help she needs now, Mr. Franklin, until she starts getting those payments, because Mr. Franklin has done his part, his job, to make sure that she's in the system and they're honoring, they agree to honor what is due to her, to give her what's due, but there's a little time delay, so she needs some help with the rent. You can feel free to call me, guys. I'm going to put my number there and you can give me a call, and so that we can just take the stress off this woman, take the stress off of her. you
Marcia,
know
I will let people know that these people were not paid very well. So even 90% of that isn't a lot of money either. So if
Mm-hmm.
you can still assist, please do so. Because when she gets the money from national insurance, she has arrears and stuff that she has to pay. So that will go very quickly. So she will still need your help. You know. Um, I know we're actively looking for some place to for her to move into. And if any of you know of any place where she can go and be comfortable, and it's not too expensive because we really don't want to put her in more trouble, we can think. I have collected some money to pay the deposit for the event because you got to pay first week or last week or first month or last month depending. I think so. I have some money that will help her to move when she gets there. So but please, if you know of any host that is available, let us know. Call Marcy or call me, and we will see what we can do.
Yeah. Rachel, I didn't get the message of whether you want to put your number up. If you don't want to put your number up and you want to them to message me and then I pass the information to you, that's fine. You can tell me if I can put up your number, please.
You could pass it on via WhatsApp or so.
Okay, so you want me to put up your number or you want me to pass on the information?
You could put it up. It don't matter.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to so this is her number, guys. For those of you who I know that there's a group of women from the US who said that they would help, and I am telling you, I got so many calls and I'm not able to find out who it is. I called several persons, Rachel, trying to see if it's them, and they said it's not them. So I'm still trying to find who they are. But if you're listening and that's you, and you want to help Rachel, please give her a call. This is a number here. I think somebody reached out to you and they did your flyer for you.
Yes, they would have done a flyer for me, and I am
Yes.
so grateful for that. I was actually supposed to message the lady back, but I was so depressed that I didn't get a chance to message her back or anything. Because I was saying like Christmas, this is the one time that I never ever had experienced this life how it is right now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I normally around this time of year I am so happy and cheerful and bubbly because I'm working and providing stuff for my kids and I just, getting things together, but with everything that going on one after the other, and then my children could see it too because they're like, Mommy, you're okay. And then like I can't even tell them yes, I'm okay because I am not. But I tell them, Mommy trying and this and Mommy know you are trying. I could see that my son came home yesterday. He saw I was outside stuffing pillows and stitching and he was like, Mommy, you actually sit down and do all of this today? It was like, yes, because I want to get the work pushed off so that I can get some money so I could deal with you guys.
Yeah.
And
Listen, you're not alone. You're not alone. And I know what I love about you. I told you this already, Rachel. What I love about you, your foot could be hurting you. Whatever is happening, you're trying. And
yes,
I want to say to you, don't break down and don't let anybody force you to do anything that you don't want to do. And I want to say to you, you hold your head up high. You're an entrepreneur. You're a strong woman and you're trying. You've always tried. Even when you were sick, you went to the gas station to try to help and to work. You're always trying, and you're not a beggar.
yeah,
And I want to affirm you in that and to let you know that we're here for you. And if you can make the pillows, if the machine will allow and you can make the pillows, and just talk to me and we will set up a time and people will come and purchase the pillows from you, so you don't feel like people have to be giving you things. You feel like you're helping yourself too. I know how you want to feel. Okay. But
yes,
for the rent, you might need a little assistance right now, so you could get that little man, that stinking man, off your back. You need to get that rent so that he doesn't have to be asking the stinking man asking for no sex, right? You were saying
Yeah.
something, Mr. Franklin?
No, no, you said to get that man off your back. I said thankfully she didn't let him get there.
Yeah. Caswell, you're a kiss. Caswell, you're a kiss. You're a kiss. And we've even connected you with somebody in business to help you along. I know I gave you a connection with a business person there to help you. And listen, and you let me know if anybody from the show call and harassing you, and any little predators. These are the nasty predators harassing you. You let me know and let me know the name, and I'm gonna call out their name on the show. Anybody who take her name and want to give her something and ask him for anything else in return, that's why I was hesitant in putting up your number. If they do it, all you have to do is to call me, and I'm going to come on the show and call out the name. So you go ahead and do it. Yes.
Marcia, Angela is
Okay.
asking, saying, you can do a pop up shop. Yes, yes, by Caswell. Of course, she if she brings some of her, if she has stock and isn't ready for sale yet, she can bring it there, and people can come and buy it from my office. I would have no problem in doing so. So not a problem.
Yes. Yes.
And I will even volunteer my assistant to help.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. So there you go, and we will, Angela, we, we can, those of you, go ahead, take the number, and we can see, let us rally around her and make sure that she's good for Christmas while she waits. Mr. Franklin is going to check. He's been, come on, let's give Mr. Franklin a hand, man. Give me some hands there. Mr. Franklin went left here and he got it done. He got them to change their decision on that. It's just for the money to start rolling in for her now. Okay, Mr. Franklin, we appreciate you and thank you for the work that you've done. And I must admit, I must add, he's not going to want to say this. He's not charging Rachel a cent. And I know you would know that. He's not taking $1 from Rachel for doing this stuff for Rachel. Okay? He work on behalf of Rachel, and that's that. And that is the kind of man that he is, right? So we're sending lots of love and kisses to you, Rachel. Stay strong, please. And I believe that people, what's the cost of the pillows, Rachel? How much was it again? I forgot.
I
Rachel?
think there were $35 for for
35,
the big
30.
ones. But the ones I
Yes.
saw were some big pillows, and they were $35, I think.
Yes. 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 Okay. Good. 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 All right. So Rachel, thank you for coming on and sharing with us tonight.
Welcome. Thank you as well.
Yes. Okay. And we will stay in touch, and go ahead and call her directly, and get her sorted. Okay. We're a family.
Okay.
God bless you, Rachel.
God bless you
Yes.
too and everybody on here. Thank you.
Yes. You're most
And I,
welcome. Good night. Mr. Listen, this international economic research, economy researcher, is that the right term? Is I'm watching my phone, and then I see this thing come from Bahamas. You saw it. Did
yes,
you?
yes, yes, yes.
I said, who
Boy,
is?
it's a way to go. Yeah.
I said,
And
I
it's very popular too because about 10 people send it to me too. I talk about people all over the place. You know, so but this is the way to go. Don't let them keep you down, Kimar. Don't let them. Don't. They can make you sick just now too. But don't worry. You keep focused. You keep going. You keep going because look, the people of Barbados appreciate you. I know even though the people out there in Barbados appreciate you. Don't stop. We need more.
Yeah.
We need more young people like you, man.
Well, I am grateful. I am grateful, overjoyed that I could be able to do something like that. um, you never know who's out there listening to your message, so you got to keep plowing if I actually listen to the people around me, I don't know where it would be. Probably sitting down at home, with my mouth shut, having nothing to say on the affairs of people. Um, so it was good to have my business, economy, speaking from that perspective, sharing the same research that you would have shared on the show, sharing it on
Mm-hmm.
such a regional and massive level. And then
Mm-hmm.
we actually got to address the Prime Minister's claim in a massive forum. Yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
let me play it for those who did not see. I gotta play. I gotta play. We're so proud of you, Kimar. So I asked Dave to make sure it's on here so that we can play it. So we just want to play. And can you give them the context? They ask you to respond or to give your input on what? Give us the set it up for us before I play it.
Yeah, well, Shanika Miller, who was the anchor, the news anchor, uh, she was querying the world leaders, Putin, and I think it was Kim Jong Un, and Naomi and Motley is speaking it out there that they have low populations and they want to increase these populations. So, Eyewitness News wanted to ask, how come Barbados is speaking about low population growth and boosting the population when there's a clear attempt by the officials to bring the LGBT agenda here in full lockstep? The two don't go together. So Cassius, well, he wasn't on the show at the time, but Cassius then he put out the clip after and said straight, well, if you telling me to get children, you gotta step and put one on the table too.
You hold it there because we want to play. We're gonna play both clips. So let me go ahead and play. We're gonna play Kimar's. Let me see the hand clapping coming up for Kimar. We're celebrating each other. All right. So
What is
here
it
we
you're
go.
asking us to now do? Talk about what people on the streets are saying.
Well, it's quite difficult to raise children in Barbados. The cost of living has gotten so high, and the Prime Minister has been promising and promising and promising since 2018 when she first won to actually tackle the cost of living in Barbados. But that has not been so because her government actually collected the highest levels of tax revenues ever in the history of any Barbadian government and actually placed the highest levels of taxes on the population of Barbados by any other prime minister that we've had before.
Give us an example of what that looks like in stores. What does that break down to in terms of cost of living that discouraging husbands and wives and adults from procreating?
Well, we didn't even get to the stores as yet. Bills, we pay a garbage and sewage tax in Barbados.
Utilities.
Yes. Utilities. So in Barbados, we pay a garbage and sewage tax, and the garbage and sewage tax is actually higher than the rate of water.
Jesus, you all are that.
And the garbage and sewage tax in Barbados, only 5% of people are connected to a sewer system in Barbados, but the entire population pays this garbage and sewage tax. So 95% of Barbadians pay a garbage and sewage tax for a problem that 5% of the population has. And the government today has over some billion on accounting for in collection of garbage and sewage tax because they changed the law in Barbados to stop Parliament and the public from seeing how much money the garbage and sewage tax makes by rerouting it from the consolidated fund and allowing the Barbados Water Authority to directly collect the tax. And the Barbados Water Authority is not a tax collection agency. So by doing that, we no longer see via the estimates of Parliament or any central bank reports, we no longer see how much the garbage and sewage tax would pay.
Well, Kimar, this is again Kimar Stewart. He's a leading economist in Barbados, a trusted voice, someone who has stepped out and been discussing issues just like this, particularly as it relates to inflation and the cost of living and the economy when it comes to the persons in Barbados. And he's appeared on a number of shows locally. He's sharing with us after many nations, not only in the region, but globally, are talking about the decline in birth rates.
Oh my goodness. Listen, the man, listen, when he coming on here, he don't wear no jacket, and a jacket, my guy, listen, we can't hear you, Caswell.
I noticed, I noticed.
I said, wait, this is a little pure show. My guy don't wear no more jacket, but anyway.
No. When you're at home, you wear t-shirts, and when you go out, you wear jackets.
Well, let's hear the other clip from the show. This is now Cassius speaking. Is his name? What's his last name? I can't remember, but
Stuart. His name is Stuart.
Right,
we have the same name.
You have the same name. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just play what he had to say about this request of having children.
In 1950, Barbados had 200,000 people, and the Bahamas and Belize had 80,000 each. Today, Bahamas and Belize have over 400,000 people, and Barbados has, 73 years later, 269,000 people. We have to have conversations, because as much as others would like to have the joyful way to success, there is also the need for the managed way of migration if we are not going to leave our people exposed to the headwinds.
This is a very simple equation. If the Prime Minister Mia Mottley wants to increase the population of Barbados, all she got to do is encourage them to have sex with opposite sex. And so you can't have sex with the same sex and expect your population to grow. And in fact, the Prime Minister herself needed to add to the number. You can't expect the people to have children. You ain't got no children. You got to put one on the table too. And so in order to do that, you need a man. And you got to go find a man, and you have sex, and then you have children. And so that's nothing complicated. That's basic biology. And so the problem is, it's a double-edged sword with this liberal agenda. On one hand, we want to push these alternative lifestyles. You want to push homosexual lifestyles. And then on the other hand, you're saying, oh, we ain't got no people in the country. What you think homosexuality will do? Destroy the nation. That same-sex marriage will destroy countries. That same foolishness destroys the world. And so that brings an end to the population of the world if we agree with that homosexual agenda. And so that is why, you can't have both ways. You can't want to push the homosexual agenda and have your people embrace this alternative lifestyle and then say, oh, we ain't got no people for labor. Oh, we ain't got no more population. Listen, your population can come down to you if you don't stop. And so you need to make sure, encourage family. One man, one woman equals children. That's what they call the nuclear family. Mia, y'all get it together in Barbados.
Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also follow our TikTok account. Thanks.
Stop. So you need to make sure, encourage family.
Listen. Somebody playing it? Somebody playing it? Yeah. Listen, the man said that you're gonna need to go and find a man. And you need to have, man and woman need to have sex to have children. That is basic. Right, Mr. Franklin?
Basic biology, he said.
He said, go get a man. Nobody of the same sex. And it is simple. It is simple. Right? Let's start having some children. Huh? Interesting. Oh boy, Kimar, before we move on, what's on your mind today? I know Miss McLean is there, and she's gonna come on and talk about energy, and we have Rickford Burke is coming on at 9 o'clock our time, and we'll be talking more to us about Guyana. He just sent me something he wants me to share, so we're gonna work on trying to get that. But Kimar, what's on your mind this evening? before Miss McLean comes on. If it's energy, then I will bring her on and we discuss it together. But go ahead, Kimar. I don't think he's there right now. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, well, I could share a lot of way I have to share when Maxine comes on. But I mean, there's a lot of issues, particularly the maintenance of schools. Guys, I spoke about buildings, but this thing about the schools is getting out of hand now, and all of the schools in Barbados seem to be under a problem, even as it relates to maintenance. So you have a whole host of young children being disturbed in the classrooms because the government or the management or whoever is responsible for cleaning the schools are not cleaning them. And you have all types of rats and asbestos and children getting sick. And I mean, it's come close to me now that one of my family members actually got sick and caught a viral infection from the space that he's in, right? So it is definitely becoming a problem. So how do we protect our people?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually saw so many people coming into the hospital having strokes, uh, s- what is called epileptic stroke, epilepsy, and seizures.
Mm-hmm.
So something is definitely going on in Barbados. Some type of disease, some type of outbreak, some type of viral outbreak that is making this country sick because too many people
Mm-hmm.
are having adverse effects, and the hospital doesn't have any room, right? People are sitting in it for so long still, and then when you go in to the space, you still can't even get the space to keep you out in the corridor, right? So something is wrong that a country as small as Barbados, and I think that by now we should have another hospital. How could you be serving 300,000 people with one hospital, right? So we need to do something about that. However, the government has to meet the IMF program. That's where they're cutting the welfare checks. And I heard Rachel speaking earlier about cutting the welfare checks. Now, the minister responsible for those welfare checks is Kurt Humphrey, right? And this Kurt Humphrey is saying that he was supposed to be bringing the One Family program in association with the prime minister. So how could you then cut the welfare checks and cut the people off the welfare because the checks dropped from 300 and something dollars? How wicked is that, right? So you cut people's welfare, and then you come with this backhand thing called the One Family Program, and you are telling those people that they have to have a digital ID to get on to this One Family Program, right? This morning, you had the DEO driving around Barbados looking for homeless people, along with the Coast Guard and some other institutions, armed forces, driving up and down Barbados because the minister Humphrey sent out a note asking the DEO for volunteering assistance to help the government with their homeless program, So he said, Humphrey, that the government is intending to build homeless shelters all around Barbados. Where are you going to get the homeless people from to fill them, right? So instead of focusing on land and houses and building
Mm-hmm.
houses for people, they want to build homeless shelters, right? That is what they're doing. So
Mm-hmm.
I actually today went to the Barbados Revenue Authority land auction, where people who can't pay the land taxes, the government has came in and they foreclose on lands, and it's so many people losing properties in Barbados because they can't afford to pay the land tax. And the government snatching up properties like water and selling them off, and people are really and that's guts. I even saw some people at the last minute uh running out and trying to save their properties, having to go and beg all over the place, take loans, do whatever to stop the government and the BRA from selling off their properties, you know.
Yeah.
That's so bad it is getting in Barbados.
I want to intervene here. Sorry if it came out, but I don't want to cut you. But I want to mention that some of these properties have been revalued. I know of one man whose property was revalued downward so that when they sell it, it would get a better sale because, for instance, his property was worth $3 million. The time and value it at 1 point somebody million. But nobody else in the neighborhood properties got devalued. I know of a case where a husband had, but this family had a house, a property over $2 million, and they're going through a divorce. The courts might give her half and give him half. So what they did, they get somebody at Bra to change the value of the land tax so that the property is no worth, according to land tax, $1 million. So the husband will give her $500,000 instead of $1 million. So I don't know what is happening with these properties. Brass should not be selling a single property till they clean up their act because there's too much corruption in there. And if you want to buy somebody's property or you want to get rid of somebody's property and you realize you're not paying the taxes, you up the value on it too. Before Brass sell a single property, a thorough investigation, probably even a commission of inquiry, should be instituted at BRA to stop them from disadvantaging people. Because right now we have too many people who can't afford to pay, and then they can't. So if you can't afford to pay land tax, you can't afford a lawyer. So when they go move against you, you can only go and beg. And you don't have the wherewithal to go and get a lawyer to get an injunction to stop them from selling and do any investigation and let the courts decide that they're doing wrong things because they have revalued people's properties and take them away. That's wrong.
Boy, I tell you, and I'm sure a lot of these people are not able to pay the property taxes because of what's happening in the economy. In the same way people can't pay their rent, and there's just an insensitivity. And we don't know, they put the properties on the market, they themselves probably buy it back quickly, and take the people's property from them. It's all a scheme. And
Yeah,
and and so it's, yeah, go ahead, Kimar.
most of the government actually raised land taxes higher than they were when they came in, you know. And the IMF has said in their reports that the government was putting taxes on personal wealth, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they would put the focus more in terms of taxation on personal wealth. And that is why they increased the land tax threshold. So they actually increased the threshold, and now people are struggling to pay, right? So I don't know what they thought would have happened. That when they send up the price along with all the other taxes people have to pay, that Barbados will still be having the money to pay. They don't have the money to pay. So the government should really lower these land tax thresholds. But
Mm-hmm.
that goes against the IMF program. And we keep seeing where the IMF is becoming a problem for the people. Because the IMF is saying cut that, cut this, cut welfare. Look, they cut welfare and look what it did to racial lane. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They increase land taxes. Look at the amount of properties that you're seeing being listed by brand new newspaper. So the policies of the government, and we're supposed to have a ministry of people's empowerment, but this is the ministry of people's disempowerment because the
Mm-hmm.
people are losing substantially more in terms of their assets, in terms of their jobs, in terms of their income, than they're actually gaining, right? So they're becoming disempowered under the government, and that is not what we did. But I wanted to share uh something, a case, I call it a case that I kind of cracked as it relates to that story that we saw yesterday with the St. Andrew, or the guns and the ammunition being held at the St.
Yes.
Andrew office, right? It came to me today, actually, that, and we discussed this on the show, Marcia,
Mm-hmm.
where we saw that the entire East Coast was for sale. You remember that?
Yes.
Right. So the land on the East Coast, which is supposed to be government land, is being sold by a private real estate company. And in the changes to the zones, the land zones, the last zone, which would be zone F,
Mm-hmm.
which would classify St. Andrew, they actually dropped the regulations for building in St. Andrew solo because they say that St. Andrew is one of the places which do not recharge the aquifers within the uh 90-day period or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could do building. So they actually changed the law to allow people to build in St. Andrew. And remember, they gave the Chinese, or the Chinese gave us $400 million, and then the government gave
Yes.
the Chinese contracts to build all of the roads and rebuild the bridges. And Santia Bradshaw, who is the deputy prime minister, who also is the minister for MTW Roadworks, and also the minister for Waterworks, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of these changes as it relates to reclassifying St. Andrew were done under her, right? So this might be a plot. This might be a plot to get Rommel out because they know what they want to do. As well, not that they want to. They know what they already did as it relates to
Right.
selling out St. Andrew. Because even today itself, we saw uh we saw the Santia Bradshaw speaking about that the government needs regulations to govern the Scotland district. That's crazy. There's already the Scotland District Rehabilitation Act, right? And there was another act which managed that area before, and the government repealed it, right? I can't remember the exact. I'm gonna get the name for you, but if there was an act that governed specifically the Scotland District area, and the government repealed it to pass a Scotland District Rehabilitation Act. And then on top of that, they made the changes in the land zone policies and the amendments to the Barbados Water Authority Act to allow persons to build in St. Andrews. So all of the land is being sold out in St. Andrews. So if you listen to the government keeps speaking about development,
Mm-hmm.
uh, development in the area, development in the area, development in the area, because they intend to build a lot of hotels and develop St. Andrews significantly. But the problem is that they have gone ahead to work with the Chinese as it relates to developing the area. So what might be going on in the background is something sinister as it relates to Romel becoming a blockage because he might not be playing their game. He might not be interested in
Oh.
selling out the residents in St. Andrew to this agenda because if you look, and I'm gonna pull up the app. I know we may not have enough time, but we may have to come back to this. But I want to
Yeah.
pull up the app to show you exactly where these land zone policies in zone F, which will show you the classification for St. Andrew to show you that part of the Physical Development Act that the government recently passed, right? They are basically selling out St. Andrew, and they started with the East Coast, and they've started to facilitate the Chinese and facilitate other people as it relates to moving people into the parish. So Ramel, he is not highly favored, although
Okay.
he was the parliamentary secretary under Santia Bradshaw, I believe, in the Ministry of Education, and I know uh, Ramel seems to become he's becoming a problem as it relates to the selling out that they did in St. Andrew. So he's, as I said, he's probably not interested in selling out the lands in St. Andrew probably because he's a St. Andrew born man, and he would hate to see the government that he supports rob the people of St. Andrew, because that is what they're about to do. And we're going to prove that when we pull up the legislation to show you exactly how they change those zones, and we're going to put back up that picture to show you how they're selling the entire East Coast.
Correct. I mean, something was fishy, because I mean, if it actually happened, somebody had to tip off somebody for it to actually happen. So there must be something. But we're going to come back to this schema. You can start looking for it. But Mr. Franklin, we have the lovely Miss McLean here with us this evening, and she is going to lead us in a discussion, and we can, for us all can get involved talking about energy and what is happening in Barbados as it relates to that. We've seen a number of pieces of documents being sent around on WhatsApp because the people are concerned. People are concerned, So we wonder, Miss McLean, good night. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you? Oh, let me sorry. I was so interested and sorry I don't have on a jacket. Neither does Casual, by the no, but I have to tell Kimar was on an international platform. This is one too, but this is a domestic platform that is beamed internationally, but he was on an international platform. As I listen to all that you're saying, and before I get into the energy, or as I look at the energy, because I think this is touching the same thing. What we have, we heard about transparency and good governance and all those promises, but I call it the shuttering. They're closing the shutters on us, and a whole set of things are happening that do not lend themselves to proper transparency. And I really think that Kimar, and I'll go and look for some information that I can probably share later on the whole issue of Scotland District, and these kinds of things are really part of a continuation of approaches to how this government is operating. And you mentioned the utilities. Somebody called me this morning and asked me if I was listening to the debate. Unfortunately, at the time they called, I was on the road, but I looked at it, and specifically what we had today was the Utilities Amendment Bill 2023. And I'll read the objects and reasons, but I have to go back to talk about the previous piece of legislation, or the what do you call it, the main legislation, which is the Utilities Regulation
the
Act
principal act.
of 2000. What do you call it, Casual?
The principal act.
The Principal Act. That was the word I was trying to remember. Which was the Utilities Regulation Act, Chapter 282 of the Laws of Barbados, and that would have been passed in 2002. Today, what they were doing, the bill, as it said, the amendment that was passed in the Senate today, the bill would make provision for the exemption of the supply of electricity from renewable energy resources from all or any of the provisions of the Utilities Regulation Act 282, where the exemption is required in the public interest. Now, let me park the public interest couple words at the end and look at what this says, and I repeat it. The bill would make provision for the exemption of the supply of electricity from renewable energy resources from all or any of the provisions of the Utilities Regulation Act, Chapter 282, where that exemption is required in the public interest. So all you need to tell me is everything is in public interest and nothing is regulated according to the legislation.
Maxine,
Now,
let me
in
cut you
order,
here. Let me cut you here. You don't expect them to say it in a piece of legislation in the monthly interest, so they had to put something,
reasonable.
Yeah, okay. Now go on.
Now, in order to understand, and we will come back to that, Caswell, believe me. In order to understand, for me, the seriousness of that intention, because the objects and reasons tells you why they are amended. What is the purpose of the amendment? And in order to do that, I will share with you and our audience what the Principal Act, which is the 2002 Utilities Regulation Act is all about. And I read some extracts from it. It is an act, and I quote, to provide for the regulation of utility services. And it speaks to the function of the commission. The commission here, of course, would be Fair Trading Commission. I'll come back to that commission. And it says, speaks to the functions, and the functions relate to one, principles for arriving at rates to be charged. It speaks to setting maximum rates charged. It also, the function includes monitoring of the rates charged to ensure compliance. It would also determine standards of service, monitor standards of service applied to ensure compliance, carry out periodic reviews of the rates and principles for setting rates and standards of service. Now, when you tell me that you're going to remove that and exempt, from all or any of the provisions of that act, then you're saying that you're essentially moving from a regulated situation, which is transparent, because we know when we look at the processes, we have hearings, we have, public consultations or whatever, to a system that we are not sure how it is going to work, other than to tell you that it is, that it is removing. Now, of course, the commission, this is within the ambit of the Fair Trading Commission, which is supposed to protect the interests of consumers. In addition to that, when we look at the commission is not a single individual, but a panel of commissioners. For example, when we look at what's been transpiring recently with the rates in relation to the Barbados Latent Power, you have a set of commissioners sitting and listening to interveners, etc. So the thing is, what really are we going to end up with if we go in that direction? Because at the end of the day, if you look at the same legislation, it goes on to say, and it would be interesting to see what the principal act, how comprehensive it is, and how much the change or the amendment, what the amendment translates into. So in essence, it says that the amendment of section, the act will actually replace, the amendment that they put here will replace section 37 of the 2002 Act. And if you want, I could quickly tell you what section 37 says, and what the amended paragraph would say. So under part 9 of the Principal Act, which is chapter 282 of the Laws Utilities Regulation Act, it says at 37, which is what is going to be amended, a service provider must apply to the commission for A, the utility service that it supplies, or B, any part of the utility service that it supplies, to be exempted from the application of all or any of the provisions of this Act, where the service provider can establish that the market for the utility service supplied by the service provider is effectively competitive. The commission shall consider whether the utility service supplied by the service providers should be exempted, and shall make a recommendation to the minister. So in essence, you have to go through a process of evaluation, not by an individual, but by the commission. And then the minister may, on the recommendation of the commission or on his own initiative, exempt the utility service. So in essence, there is no automatic exemption of a company or entity looking to provide renewable energy in the existing in the legislation prior to the amendment. But what the amendment says now, in reading all that goes in 37, it goes away from that to simply say section 37 of the Utilities Regulation Act, chapter 282, is amended by inserting immediately after section 4 this: the minister may, on the recommendation of the commission or on his own initiative, exempt the supply of electricity from a renewable energy resource by a renewable energy producer from the application of all or any of the provisions of this Act, where the minister is satisfied in all circumstances that the exemption is required in the public interest. Now, my other question is, apart from full exemption, what constitutes public interest? Perhaps Caswell can help me there, because I don't recall seeing any definition in the amendment as to what constitutes public interest. And I don't know how you can test whether a decision was made in the interest of the public. My concern, therefore, is that we are moving away from a system that has a certain level of transparency to one in which we are pretty much shuttering the windows, closing the windows in terms of information. So in essence, you probably would have had to make applications, and the app is very, is specific on what has to happen. And now we're moving to this. Now the question is, who are the possible beneficiaries of these kind of things? And if you look at the renewable energy sector, and I am going on anecdotal evidence, and perhaps if we are to ask for a list of companies that have applied for licenses, and so on, it'd be interesting to see what's happening. I mean, companies are out there. We know of certain large entities that have done so, and they are up and running. On the other hand, I can tell you that I have heard frustrated persons who are small operators in relative terms, who are willing to and would have negotiated to borrow money from their credit unions, for example, to set up, solar farms, for example, and engage in participating and competing in this sector. And they have been waiting and waiting. Now, how do we as a people ensure what is happening? Because if you're talking about setting rates and all kinds of things, how do we get to know what kind of reporting is there? And so my concern is that if you have this level of opaqueness, lack of transparency, how do we know that the decisions taken are fair and not, well, and done even-handedly? How do we know that special arrangements are not being made for some people, in terms of probably setting rates? And I mean, because it's saying that what applies in the current legislation can be totally ignored. So I believe, for me, one of the concerns I have is that this shift away from the existing arrangement can open up the sector to what I will describe as undue interference, and this can be counterproductive. How do we safeguard the public's interests? And somebody
It's
sent something, Marcia. It is circulating out there, and therefore I suppose you can put it up to show that there people are applying to get involved in this sector. And it is interesting, because I believe that if you can, Marcia, this 10 megawatt Barbados, okay, before you move that, Barbados National Oil Company Limited, Barbados Workers Union, Barbados Light and Power Company, in a venture to develop a 10 megawatt solar farm. Now, I ain't no physicist, chemist, engineer, anything, but a 10 megawatt solar farm in Barbados is one of the larger operations. Okay, I believe that Light and Power, if you go to St. Lucie, you will see that they have a significant solar farm in operation. And my understanding from the little bit of research that I have done would suggest that such an operation is not a small operation. And I'm happy to see that you have, because if you say the Barbados Workers Union, the Barbados Workers Union at least represents, or should be representing, the workers of Barbados. But then there are other applications that are made, and are other companies that exist that might have been registered. And I believe that there is circulating, and Caswell is my legal advisor on this one. I suppose a document documents that come from the registry, information on companies is readily available to the public, right, Caswell?
There are public documents. You can go
Okay,
in there and pay your $5 or whatever it
I
is
get it.
and get copies.
Copy. So
I am
Marcia,
I am seeing a copy of a document that is registered in corporate affairs. Um, I'm one of the directors of this company. They have two directors,
that's
Roger
why
Gill.
what Marcia, if she has it to show it, so I can look at
Roger
the
Gill.
income skill.
He is one of
I'm trying to get it shared. Kimar or Dave could share it for me.
he,
They
Okay,
is-
both
well,
have
he
that.
Roger Gill is
well,
one of the male campaigners and stuff
while
and
you do that, Caswell will
bagmen.
speak to the company. Go ahead, Caswell.
The Costa O'Neill Graham, he's an electrical contractor, another guy I know, and all BLP. And then we have Stuart Tappan Motley, attorney at law.
And these
And
are
they
what
and
these are
these
who
are
and what is it?
directors of Green Oil Energy Solutions.
Uh-huh.
And I am surprised that, because this was sent to me today several times by journalists, by attorneys, by everybody, wanting me to be aware of it. I was aware of it ever since. It's just that I didn't know that they were going to amend the legislation so that people like companies like this would be able to get away with murder. You
No,
see,
no.
that
One
is
of the
what
things,
Maxine asked just now.
Oh,
What we can do.
hold a minute though. Let's just let the people read the names that are on. So this is the registration document of this company, and
That is the direct. That's the change. Notice the
change of
directors.
notice of the change of directors. Thank you. And that's the change here in the section 5 of it, viewers. And the names are all there, and we're getting to understand. And I checked before I came on, and I was told as well that these are BLP persons, and we see one person there.
one is the brother of the prime minister.
One is the brother of the prime
Yes,
minister. And
Stuart
so
Tappan
the
Motley.
bill, the question is, Mr.
From
Franklin,
Kohinoor. That's, I think, yeah, that's family. That's the family residence, as far as I know.
the family residence. Okay, so this is the prime minister's brother, and then you have these other two who are very strong in the BLP party. My question is, before you go, I'm just trying to be a viewer. Was there a need to change the to amend the bill? What was the purpose of the amendment?
But
The
as I
amendment
said,
is to make sure that the Fair Trading Commission cannot determine how much money these people are going to charge, how much money they're
precisely,
going to get. That is what it's all about.
the Fair Trading Commission is about rate setting and so on. And if you're talking about setting rates for selling, for example, right now we are looking at the rates that the Barbados Light and Power charges customers.
Yeah.
In this whole question of the production and sale of renewable energy, solar energy specifically, there's a process of setting rates for selling the electricity generated to the light and power. And that, in the normal scheme of things, based on the legislation, would attract the attention of the commission and fall under the existing legislation prior to the amendment. The amendment is saying, look, we will exempt the renewable energy sector or subsector from the, if we look at it in terms of energy generating, we will exempt that sector from some or all of the regulations that normally apply in the principal legislation. And the question is, what are you doing that for? If you are talking about speeding up a process of application and so on, that is fine. You can have a rate setting regime that recognizes the importance of quick decision making. I want you to go down. There's also an attachment to this which explains, it speaks to the nature of the business, I believe. And I want to look at that as well, because when I looked at that, I had to, and in relation to the previous one, what you will see, I think, and I noticed that something happened on my birthday, 17th of May, 2019. That's when this thing was what? Presented, signed. It says here, Pleasant Hall Renewable Energy Partners Limited, application for a utility scale electricity storage license. In accordance with the Electricity Light and Power Act 2013, we call it the ELPA for short, and I can say a little bit about that if you want. Notice is hereby given that the above company is applying to the Ministry of Energy for a utility scale electricity storage license for its proposed 10 megawatt, 12-hour 120 MWH project located at Bannatyne Plantation, Christchurch, Barbados. Now, you notice when you had up the other thing, and I mentioned that the 10 megawatts
Yeah.
is, in the context of Barbados, is not a small operation. So in essence, and the technical people can correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm seeing as this is a big project,
Mm-hmm.
and a big project which probably, and I am told by persons who have gotten involved that the generation and sale of energy from solar sources can be pretty lucrative. Now, if, and this of course can have a significant, I presume, if, because you look at the one that was that this that was signed between Barbados National Oil Company, Barbados Workers Union, and Barbados, the Light and Power.
Mm-hmm.
That is a 10 mega, the same size kind of scale, in terms of the, I guess, generation of electricity. So what I am asking myself, and I'm asking the authorities, including the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, especially where her brother is involved, tell us what happens if because this company has applied for this. Now, have they been granted the license yet? Have the terms and conditions of that application been finalized prior to the passage of this legislation, or is it awaiting, finalization until after the legislation has passed? I didn't get a chance to listen to the debate, but I understand that there were some independent senators, who objected to the passage of the legislation. I was hoping to see if I could listen to it before. I believe the names called, and I'm subject to correction, that two persons would have been Senator Malalou and Senator Drakes. I would have to go back and listen. But Marcia, this really concerns me because at the end of the day, and I will say this, in a small country, and I'm not making an excuse for anybody, but I'm sharing how I approach things. In a small country, you will find yourself in areas which may constitute potential conflicts of interest, especially
Mm-hmm.
where we are hearing about transparency and good governance and declarations of interest, etc. I served on corporate boards in this country. I also served on the board of my credit union. I was president of City of Bridgetown. And for the period of time that I was president at City of Bridgetown, my youngest brother was the man, the what do you call it, CEO, the manager. And for the entire period that I served, any matter that came before the credit union to deal with Mr. McLean, I I recluse myself. And more than that, I also say, put it on the agenda, let me leave the building and disappear. The point I'm making, and I asked the question, I use that as an example. What provisions are we going to have in place where this matter can go to a minister where he or she is dealing with a matter that may include a relative, as close as a sibling, a parent, a spouse, and so on, because we can't be talking about transparency and good governance and moving away, because I have seen the change, but I have not heard the rationale given. I will have to go back and listen to the debate in the House of Assembly, and I would listen to the leader of government business in the Senate. I heard a little bit of what was carried by Senator Cummings, but it didn't speak to any of this in terms of these issues.
She don't
Um,
really make sense, Maxine. Go
and
there.
and I don't know the extent to which um, there was significant debate, but I really I looked at this thing over a period of an hour because in trying to wrap my head around an hour and a half, in stopping to do something else. But there are a lot of issues that this is throwing up for me, Marcia, and I believe that we need to have a sense of what are the true implications of this change, what is the rationale? In other words, I like to ask the question. The lawyers say, what mischief is it we're trying to address? I ask, what problem are we solving? And I go a step further to say, what
It's
additional
called
problem
it
are we
is called
creating?
poverty, Maxine. The problem that you're solving is poverty of the politicians. You
Yeah,
will
but
solve that very quickly because, as you said earlier, and as you well know, this renewable energy is fairly lucrative.
it is.
But you think the jumping in solar and sorry though, but you had something earlier with Tony Moore and this is the same Tony Moore that's in the house that can help pass this law.
Yeah.
And you talking about conflicts of interest? Did
Well, I
she?
need to
Did
hear.
she?
I will go and listen to hear what she said if she
No, but
spoke at
I would
all.
want to. I would want to know that she would have declared an interest, and I'm hoping that she did. Because this is not
You
BW's
see,
business. BW business is looking out for its membership, representing the people that work in the hotels instead of getting them fired all the time and people treating them like dogs. This is what they should be doing, not
but
out here start trying to get involved you know why this is happening?
as well,
Because
listen to me. If you taking away the people members and they're not getting revenue from Jews, what you expect? They're gonna go find some way to make some money.
they got more members that they go back for some, not mine, but go back for some. That is the problem. They are not. Their core business is representing people, but they are not making enough money from their core business that they were set up to do. Because um, if you are not making money in your core business, something is wrong. Or if you're not, I know what is wrong. In order to make money in your core business, you have to keep people loyal, interested in what you're doing for them. The people are pulling away. So rather than go out there and say, well, look, what are we doing wrong? No, they're going out getting involved in lucrative things to make money, to keep themselves in the money and neglecting the workers because this is not something for the unions to be doing.
I would say this. There's one cap. Well, I don't know if it's a caveat, but one point of disagreement with you and I would say this to the extent that the union has, because I know they had at some point investment in a labor college, and I guess I don't know where the project is.
But the labor college is to train workers. Just shut it
No,
down.
but yeah, let me make the point. The point I'm saying is that I agree with you that if to the extent that they can use the resources they have to do this, and this is why I say this is it, while they continue to do what they are supposed, their core business, I don't have a difficulty. But if, to all intents and purposes, there's a neglect of their core business and a loss of membership, this cannot be a substitute. But at the same time, what it is now that they are involved, the whole question is how does that, as you said, how does that create a muddying up of the waters where you have the trade union boss, and I'm involved in her union involved in this, being a member of parliament and so on. But I really want to know how. If I want to suggest that we need to be asking questions about who has been getting licenses. There should be, these things are supposed to be public information.
Yeah.
And mhm.
Yeah, Max. I just wanted to help fill in some information from the screen because you were asking some questions, and the articles here have some information on them. So if you wouldn't
No, go
mind
ahead,
read.
Kimar.
It says here Barbados's renewable energy transition is getting a whopping $25 million investment push over the next year through a rare partnership involving government, the private sector, and labor. On Thursday, representatives from the Ministry of Energy and Business Development, the Barbados Workers Union, and Emira signed a memorandum of understanding paving the way for the investment. Through a partnership with the BWU and the state-owned Barbados National Oil Company, Emira, and the affiliate Light Power Company, will invest in a 10-megawatt solar voltaic farm on 32 acres of land at Mangrove, St. Philip, which is owned by the Barbados Workers Union. During the signing ceremony at BW headquarters in Solidarity House and Harmony Hall, St. Michael, the chief operating officer of Emera, Dave McGregor, said that the partnership should be seen as a vote of confidence in the utility company. However, pointing to the urgent need for Barbados to wean itself off fossil fuel, and he called on the government to also move with urgency in removing the barriers so that the investment could be completed within 12 months. McGregor said that the continuous rise in oil prices internationally, which topped US $115 per barrel this week, coupled with the impacts of climate change, required an urgent switch to renewable energy sources. Barbados is aiming to achieve 100% reliance on renewable energy by 2030, and the country currently spends between $600 and $700 million on fuel imports each year. And they said that we need to get off the fossil fuel. He then expressed disappointment that the Barbados the Power Company's 10 megawatt solar voltaic plant in Trent St. Lucie, which was commissioned in early 2016, was the only such project of that magnitude on the island to date. And he said, I know we need to work with the Ministry of Energy and the Fair Trading Commission to move any and all barriers to getting this project done quickly and done right. And the sooner we can do it, the sooner we will yield. Yes, sir. Right, just let me finish off the article thing and pass back over to you. And said he will yield the benefits in getting off that oil. And I look forward to working with the minister and the others to start removing some of these barriers that have been slowing down projects over the last 6 years, the Emera official said. It is estimated that for Barbados to become fully reliable on renewable energy farms for its electricity needs, it will require about 800 megawatts of energy annually. And McGregor said that the project, which forms part of Emira's commitment to fight climate change, is expected to generate 21 million kilowatts an hour or 21 gigawatts an hour of electricity per year, and is expected to have the battery storage component as well. And the company is still to obtain the relevant licenses and complete the necessary studies. And McGregor said, if all goes well according to plan, the construction could take as little as 8 months. Minister of Energy and Business Development Kerry Simmons said that the partnership should serve as an example for future private sector development, and he acknowledged the need for government to act with greater speed in building up this sector and to remove barriers that slow investment. And he underscored that while pledging that he will be wrestling with that technical difficulty to the ground. And he says here, and I quote him, I pledge that I will do all of my power as the minister responsible to ensure that the necessary things are done and this project can proceed without impediments and we reap the sweets of success, says Simmons. Meanwhile, BW General Secretary Tony Moore said that with the island transitioning from fossil fuels to renewable energy, the expected jobs will be created for Barbadians. And so we will be interested in not just the transition, and a part of this transition is just making sure that people who have jobs today have jobs tomorrow, that the people can flourish in a sustainable environment that can provide jobs and therefore sustainable opportunities for them and their children, said Tony Moore. But back over to you, Maxine.
Yeah,
Not yet, please. Not yet, please. Not
okay.
yet. I can't let this happen. I go on without you people knowing this. BWU cannot get into business with Emera. Emera is an employer that where the Barbados workers will represent the staff. And mind you, that's why I see some of them calling me. Look, a few years back, this is 2016. Yes, 2016. One of Emera managers kicked white woman, put your foot to his backside, bam, kick him. For he was playing on his phone, she was on a meeting. And he was not paying attention to what was going on, and he was on his phone, doing this. And she came up and gave him a kick. Of course, no, the fellow, little frightened fellow thing said, well, she was only trying to get my attention. But the shop steward, the Barbados Workers Union shop steward, a fellow called Jack the Lord, protested. And eventually, Emera, the BLMP, fired him, but for some foolish reason. Said that he went up the road and had on a BLP uniform, and he had some noise with somebody in the car park. But we call it Upwildy, the insurance company at Wildy. When you're going up by the Garfield suburb around the boat.
I see.
No, it's
Sagicor.
No,
Not Wildy. No, not Wildy.
No, you're going up the highway. It used to be Lord.
Oh, Sagicor.
You come down by Garfield suburbs around the boat. You know, you're on your way to around the boat. There's an insurance company there. He parked his vehicle.
It's part of Sagicor.
It wasn't Sagicor then. It was owned by Life of Barbados or something. Or whatever else.
Yeah, Life
of
Barbados.
Then somebody else bought it. They fired him, saying that he cursed the fellow and he had on BNP uniform. But the security guard was telling him something about parking, and the fellow must have said something to the security guard. The security guard, nobody turned up from there to give evidence, and nobody from the company. As a matter of fact, they wrote and said they may come in, because I was in that meeting. Because when BW refused to represent him, he turned to Unity. Right? And he was a shop steward of BW. No, I can now see why Barbados Workers Union was refusing to represent its membership as a fellow who was a shop steward.
At Barbados Light and Power.
At Light and Power. I know they're getting in business with Emera. So who else the disadvantage in order to let Emera survive? As a matter of fact, Emera then had to turn around and pay, or BLNP had to turn around and pay, ordered by the Fair Trading Commission, something like $68,000 for the unfair dismissal. That it was ruled to be unfair dismissal.
Right, well, it sounded that way, but you see, and I was interrupting.
How can you get into business with a person that you're fighting with?
Well, see, this is where the challenge is. I mean,
or should be fighting with.
And well, you know, and if you have, so this is the challenge. How do they do that? Two things. One, as Kibar was saying, and I was going to mention it at the point when they talked about the whole business of, what was the word they used? Not stumbling blocks, but delays and obviously what they're saying is that we don't want to wait on the process of being evaluated and do the necessary due diligence, etc. Now, of course, you can argue that in an industry like this or in any business startup, you want to move swiftly, but you do not move swiftly at the sacrifice of proper review and evaluation. So the question I would also ask, is this project up and running, or will this project also be a beneficiary of the change in legislation? Will it be a beneficiary of the elimination of the previous requirements, as we say in the legislation, Chapter 282? Because this is a big project. The one that is referred to in the company, the change of directors in the company that we looked at, that is of equal size. And as the article said, and Kimar read it, we did not have a project of that magnitude up to then. So we are talking about regulation. I want to put something else on the table, because as I'm talking about this, I am a member of the Energy Co-op. And Caswell, you remember that there was a discussion of getting, well, first they said a consortium of credit unions, but they had to pull back because anybody who understands how credit unions can invest in projects recognize that no such approval had been given by any credit union at that point in time. But my understanding is that as the government exits the sugar industry, and all the employees of the BAMC have been severed. And I don't know, Kazu, you might have some people that you might have, might know of this. They've been severed, and they're supposed to hand over some of these assets of whatever nature to this entity, or some entity related to the NG Corp. I hope that in all of this, a whole set of deals don't get made before. In other words, when you start to issue licenses and so on, that because we have not seen as credit union members any specifics yet, but I hope that, it says congrats, Jeff the Lord, he's not an attorney at law, so maybe that kick, which they had to pay for, might have inspired him to get on with it. So maybe he may have to
Yes,
turn around and deal with the
he
company one of
actually
these
then
days.
had it because the case took long. So
Well,
all
I
this you let
see.
the case fill and then
So I trust one these days he may have to deal with a similar case or some, well, not a similar one, but unfair dismissal case. But my question then is, how do we know that who will benefit, and that when people do applications and all of these things, that they're done transparently? So I promised Marcia that I need, because I know you have. I'm not sure what time Rickford Burke will be coming with
Um,
you, and I know that I sat through the presentation earlier this, and I really know that people want to hear. But this
yeah.
matter, I believe, is this what I've sought to do, is to build some sensitivity. I also want to recommend that people read. There's a WhatsApp message going around, a note from Trisha Watson, and I
Wait,
want to
Maxine,
take this.
before you go into the note, there's
Mhm,
some more information that we have on the
mhm.
screen
Okay.
that would definitely help you to make a
Mhm.
point to the audience. This is
Okay.
from Wilfred Abrams,
Mhm,
uh, when he was the Minister of Energy. And it says here, in 2 months, this was published on April 16th,
mhm,
2019, and he said here that in 2 months, investors in the renewable energy will have a decision on their standardized rate of return for the power they supply to the national grid. And this morning, Minister of Energy and Water Resources Wilfred Abrams revealed that the Fair Trading Commission has been given responsibility to define the feed-in tariffs for persons producing up to 1 megawatt of electricity. The minister explained that investors will be locked into this rate of return for the next 20 years, and by July 6th, the FTC should have advised us as to what the proper feed-in tariffs for renewable energy should be, said Abrams, who brought the news from his office at Country Road this morning. Abrams further revealed that the FTC will not be constrained by the feed-in tariffs pricing structure for larger systems producing over 1 megawatt. I will repeat that part again. Abrams revealed that the FTC will not be constrained by the feed-in tariff pricing structure for larger systems producing over 1 megawatt, noting that he expected rates to fall below what is currently being offered. Abrams gave the assurance that the new permanent rate would ensure that investors receive their fair returns in light of the significant reductions in the cost of the technology over the years. To quote him, he says that I have no doubt that the feed-in tariff rate is going to drop from rate is now. I would have to await the advice of the FTC to see what it ends up being. Currently, we don't know because we're operating with old data and we did not want to make that decision using old data. So we thought it was best to get a new market study that looks at the new developments in the sector and comes up with a recommendation, said Abrams, who pointed out that the price of solar panels have come down by 60% over the last 7 years. It says here, for some time, investors in renewable energy have complained that they were unable to secure financing for their projects as lending institutions were deterred by the instability of rates, which were influenced by the fluctuation in oil prices. However, in 2016, the FTC set a temporary rate for the power being sold to the national grid under the RER program. I'm not sure what's that, at which seems to be 41 cents per kilowatt hour for solar PV and 31 cents for wind on such time until such time as a permanent rate may be established. At the time, the FTC said that the decision was taken to increase the capacity from 500 kilowatts up to 500 kilowatts from 150 kilowatts. He said that the uncertainty in the sector has dampened the appetite for new investment, and with Barbados looking to be carbon neutral by 2030, Abrams made it clear that impetus was urgently needed. For us to get to the 100% renewable energy by 2030, our sector cannot grow incrementally. We require nothing less than a tectonic shift to get there. It has been a radical transformation, so this is our good faith gesture, he said, revealing that under the feed-in tariff rate, the issue of licenses will cut off after a total of 10 megawatts have been achieved. And the development represents a major step in the fulfillment of a promise to review the Barbados Light and Power Act and the National Energy Policy of 2017 to 2037, which was made to stakeholders last July. At the time, businessman and renewable energy sector investor Ralph Williams welcomed a permanent tariff for power sold to the Barbados Light and Power, saying while he did not know what the permanent rate would be, he was certain that the industry would take off once the decision was made by Colville Mounsey. Back over to you, Maxine.
I mean, okay.
But
Well,
you realize that they're in this article he's saying one thing, but in the post he sent it today or they're
something
doing
else. But
something else.
there's an older article. But you see,
Yeah, I know it's an older article, but you see, the thing is, their position shift and change depending upon who is investing. You see, now that we have a motley investor now, you're not having the regulation anymore.
and
That
that is
is
why.
a reasonable conclusion that I can draw from what I'm seeing here. I am not trying to slander anybody. I'm saying a motley is investing. I know the government has changed its policy. Put the two
No,
of them
but you see,
together.
this is the crux of the matter. What exactly will be the decisions made depending, because it is not transparent, and and
No,
and
this
and,
government is as transparent as mud.
and the problem is that
Yeah.
you're looking at all aspects
I tell you.
of the sector, and it says all the areas covered by the legislation previously. They're saying we eliminate all, some or all. But I will tell you the truth. I'm not impressed by the gentleman in front of me on the screen. I mean, Minister Abrams as he is now. I mean, this guy had an uncanny way. One is this, Caswell, I suggest you go and check some of his speeches in the Senate and check the speeches made in the lower house by one or two of his colleagues immediately. I mean, as a former lecturer who used to mark scripts, I have a fairly good level of recall, and when I see something that I saw before, it strikes me. Um,
Plagiarism.
yeah, I just want to make a quick comment, Marcia, before I speak to the issue of Tricia Watson. I think there was a comment by Pedro Gemma who referred to my saying if, and he talked about being politically correct. Let me say one of the things. On a show like this, which has been really dissecting a lot of what is taking place or not taking place, I measure my words carefully because I do not want anybody looking on to find a way to try to shut this down. Trust me, on every occasion that we speak, that is exactly what people are doing. So if I say if, because our defamation laws are not those of the United States, for example, people can say almost any and everything. Around here, you say something and people will seek to shut us up. So when you hear me say comments, I choose my words very carefully for that reason. Because trust me, the impact that this show is having on people's understanding of issues is significant. In a situation where we are not hearing from our policymakers matters like this, and as I said, I will go back and listen to see the extent to the extent to which members of parliament spoke. I will listen to hear what issues they put on the table, the extent to which they connected with the legislation that they were debating, and all of these things. Because the truth is, we are not hearing, and you can't count on most of the contributions on the government side to really help you to understand, one, what it is they're doing, why they're doing it, how it is going to make things better, um, and so on. So when Kimar read about, eliminating the bottlenecks and the red tape and whatever else, those weren't the exact words used. But when he made reference to that, you understand what is happening. People are saying, look, we want to get on with our business, but we live in a rules-based society. It has been that way, and it has served us in good stead. I'm not saying that decision making should be slow, but we cannot sacrifice integrity, people's interest, public's interest, etc., and all of these things, safety, etc., for rapidity of making decisions. Because we have seen what rapidity has done. Almost everything these people touch, they have to go back to Parliament and redo. Programs they start and they have to go back and redo, and so on. But I want to say that overall, Marcia, this piece of legislation, I don't think I do not support the amendment. I see no justification for it. I have heard no arguments, compelling arguments for including. I'm yet to see how it's going to make things better, how it's going to make it more transparent, and how at the end of the day, John and Jane citizen can feel comfortable that it was done in the interest of the people and that we are benefiting rather than a few individuals who may get a head start or get to monopolize the situation. And we these are the examples of what needs to be done to ensure that we don't lose sight of the promise of transparency and accountability, because we're losing. I mean, a lot of things are not going in that direction at all, and I see this as one of them.
Well, give me the vote and watch me. And we are watching. And we are not seeing anything that we like. That's the problem. Earlier you asked what can be done. And the only thing that can be done right now is a giant election. We need to get, because there's no accountability. These things were not manifesto promises. So government usually make a manifesto and try to implement their manifesto, because the manifesto is the promise to the country. This is what we want you to vote for us, because this is what we will do. And none of these things coming down the pike haven't been manifesto promises. The NAS debacle here that we had recently, that this show exposed, and then the chairman went and said on brass tacks that the IMF wants these things done by all of the government was saying no. When he said that, I said, Lord, they can fire him, but no, I understand they can make him Chief Justice instead. Our problem here in Barbados is a government that thinks that they own this country and they can do whatever they like, and that we are their serfs, and that we ain't got no say and we shouldn't have a say. Everything is going wrong, and everybody's crying for transparency. Well, we're not getting it. As I said earlier, they are transparent as mud. And you will not get anybody to say anything to them unless we do it in our numbers. People have to speak up. Don't just sit down there and cry out, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that, because the people that will represent you have all been included in the Motley camp. Remember, Sharper said that we should get the unions involved. Motley got it there first. I will not stop talking about this thing. So they asked from the start to pay 23% increase, and one union, the next one charged 16 or 17%, and they're sticking to their guns. And then Frandl lost because the Motley, the merchants, and the unions got together and they marched, and it had thousands of people on the streets. Mayor leading, but the Chief Justice designate in the crowd. I had to put that in. He was on the people on the march. And the government was toppled, and they came in. And one of the first order of business is to give the people 4.5% increase, down from 23. And that meeting last that thing in 10 minutes. That was the quickest negotiations ever in the history of anything. You know, normally you go around the table and introduce each other, you know, that. So you know how long the
They had a
negotiation.
meeting prior to that, and so they knew each other very well. So they didn't need to introduce each other.
Meeting.
Marcy, I'm just watching this note for Andrew, and I think let me just read this note that went around from Tricia Watson, attorney at law, intervener, and energy justice advocate. Dear Bajans, season's greetings. This is not too long for you to read. It is your business. I have been ridiculed and told that when you only have a hammer, in my case, the hammer is supposedly the law. Every problem is a nail. But the law is a powerful advocacy tool. And of course, it's the law that protects our right to advocate in the first place. The electricity regulation and electricity rate setting is grounded in the law and is in the law and a rather complex and rarefied in Barbados area of the law at that. I am one of the very tiny number of experts in the Caribbean that specialize in this subject matter, which is why I eventually intervened when the Barbados Light and Power rate case was filed with the FTC, because it was clear to me what was happening and what would happen to electricity consumers and ratepayers in Barbados. This is why I am so perturbed by the amendment tabled in the Senate by the minister responsible for the FTC and energy to give her power to exempt renewable energy producers from the all or any of the provisions of the Utilities Regulation Act, which governs the FTC rate setting and utility regulation powers and duties. On her own initiative, the government says that it is for a specific limited purpose, but the provision gives the minister extremely and worryingly wide discretion. As usual, this was quietly tabled at Christmas time when we are distracted, such as was, I would digress and then go back to the note, when we were distracted by the 2 bank holidays just before Kadooment Day. The amendment seems like a small thing, but the power could easily be abused to the citizens' detriment. Where does visiting that kind of power on the minister end if this amendment goes through? If you haven't already, I encourage everyone to visit Parliament's website, read the amendment, and leave a protest comment in the comment section under the bill. The protests have already started there. Write your comment in a way that will not give them a reason to remove it. In your comment, address the Clerk of Parliament and ask him to bring your comment to the attention of the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, the Senators, and the Members of Parliament. I have posted the link, your choice. Share in your network, stay vigilant. Marcia, if you are not ready yet with your other guests, I had a couple of those comments that I saw, and I think it is important.
Yes, go ahead and read. We're having some challenges
Okay.
with our next guest. Go ahead.
Let me find them. I had some comments from. Okay, I will have to pull them up, but you had okay. Let you go and I will look for them. But you had comments, and some of them were fairly substantive in terms of issues. I will see if I can get on. And for people who want to do that, you go on the website of Parliament.
Yes. And
And
so people can go on the Parliament website and make comments. You're saying,
right? Yes, yes.
So
You go to Parliament of Barbados. Let me walk people through that. You go to Parliament of Barbados, and when you go to Parliament of Barbados, you will see you can go to bills and resolutions. I think that is where it is. I'm trying to do it
Yes,
on my tablet.
yes,
And
it's
then you
there.
tap on utilities amendment bills, the Senate, and then you see comment on the bill. And there are comments there. For example, you have J.M. Holder, who sent a comment 11 hours ago. He said, I am very much against this amendment, giving the minister such wide sweeping powers in the public interest, quote unquote, and quote, on his own initiative, as criteria are too sweeping. It also gives them authority to exempt the sole provider of electricity as a public good to the entire island from the provisions of the act. Now, that is not something that I even thought about as we were talking. I was talking with individual companies, but Light and Power, Emira, as a parent company, they are also into generation of solar energy, electricity via solar energy. So, are you looking to say, forget about the traditional way of rate setting and leave that to the minister? Because that is what is implied. The entity responsible for the main electricity supply should certainly be specifically excluded from the scope of this amendment. And that, in reading that, brought this thing to my attention. Um, and then you have a Davida Bovell estate, something. The bill amendment is to grant unequivocal rights to a single minister, makes it apparent that Barbados has moved to republic status with an objective to remove more and more rights and powers from the people and vest them in the rulers. This bill denies the powers of dissent by the people of Barbados and places supreme power in the hands of the minister. The bill grants the power to favor some owners/providers of renewable energy over the rights of Barbadians. This bill is undemocratic. It should be halted.
So this is something that this is an action that we can. There are 512 of us on here right now, and when we finish, this is something that you can do, that we can actually do. Go and make a comment about it. Say you don't want the bill. It's one thing to come on here, and we are complaining, and it's the other thing to do. And I personally am going to go on here, and I'm going to make a comment on this tonight. The bill, it is still open. Somebody's asking if the window is open, Miss
No,
McLean.
you can go on and you can comment. I don't see that it is closed. The bill is
It's
there. I
it's
mean,
never
it doesn't.
closed.
Huh?
They don't. It's never closed.
It's
What they
not
do, if
never
it is
closed. Let me just
offensive,
read two
they
other ones
remove it.
quickly here for you.
If
Yeah,
it's
but
offensive, they
unless that's
remove
right.
it.
Right. So you don't put anything offensive. This is one from Irene Sandy for Ghana. I trust my own comprehension and that of the interveners, particularly Tricia Watson. This bill is naked in its facilitation of certain segments of this society. We know now who the players are. The efforts to defend this bill insults our intelligence as educated citizens. It needs to be withdrawn. That is what it says. 2, Section 37 of the Utilities Act, Chapter 282 is amended by inserting immediately after Section 4 the following. The minister may, and it goes through, and I read it again, minister may, on the recommendation of the commission or on his own initiative, exempt the supply of electricity from a renewable energy resource by a renewable energy producer from the application of all or any of the provisions of this act, where the minister is satisfied. Oh dear, was like disappearing on me. Sorry. Um, I just hit something there trying to scroll up. We have gremlins in my in my finger, I guess. But that is that. Oh yeah, here it is. So it says the supply of electricity from renewable source, etc. This means that no rate or service regulation for an exempted electricity provider if the minister feels that like it none. Let me repeat this. The amendment means no rate or service regulation for an exempted electricity provider if the minister feels like it none, N or any in capital, if exempted, Emiria could set its own rates. Because I wasn't, as I said, I wasn't thinking of Barbados Light and Power. I was thinking of others, but Barbados Light and Power is in the business of generating electricity using solar. And the last one that I would share, well, there are some others, but I'll share this other one. There may be two others. If you can tell me to stop if you need to move on. Felicia Dujon, objections to the Utilities Amendment Bill 2023. One, lack of clarity in quote unquote public interest. The bill mentions exemption in the public interest without clearly defining what constitutes the public interest, leaving room, for subjective interpretation and potential misuse. And I'll pause there before I continue to read her comment. Marcia, typically with bills, and you can go and check where there are terms used, they are defined. And Caswell can verify this. You know.
Maxine, we have some information here from
Mhm.
the Minister of Energy, which
Right.
says that the amendment brings transparency to the licensing process.
Well, she defines transparency differently from me then.
How?
She
And this
doesn't
was
know what I'm saying. There's no definition, but all that we have said has shown that there's little transparent. Go ahead, Kimar.
right. So it says that new protocols and policies are coming to streamline the application process for new power generation and storage capacity solutions on the island, says the Minister of Energy and Business. Speaking in the Senate on Wednesday during the debate on the Electric and Power Amendment Bill 2022, Cummins said that the previous version of the bill had not kept pace with the green energy transformation on the island, and she said that the new amendment seeks to provide an open and transparent process for individuals and companies seeking to delve into growing power generation and storage capacity sectors. She explained that the new bill makes provisions to cover the generation systems that are part of or connected to the public grid, the generation system of licenses, and the renewable energy generation systems that are a part of or connected to the public grid. Each type of renewable generation system is classified according to the source of renewable energy utilized. Senator Cummings told the upper chamber that among the key areas for consideration before the granting of licenses will be the financial capacity to build and maintain the facilities, technical capacity necessary, as well as the capacity to minimize damage to the environment. And also, before granting licenses, the minister is required to consider the recommendations of the committee in relation to the applicant, and the minister should take into account the current and projected demand for electricity. Additionally, planning permission from the town and country planning must also have been obtained prior to the application for the license, while acknowledging that the lack of energy storage capacity is a challenge at this time. Ms. Cummings said it was an area on which her ministry was actively working. However, she added that the worldwide challenges with supply of raw materials and other necessary resources continue to present a problem. He said that globally there's a shortage of storage, electricity storage. One of the largest companies in the world that produces battery storage is citing a shortage and global supply chain challenges with the parts used to create the batteries for the storage. And Barbados is no different than many other countries in the world, having a long wait time for the procurement of storage
Kimar,
capacity.
I want you to go back to something because she's going on to talk a whole set of things that don't relate to addressing this matter. I want you to go back to when she said something about which talks public regulation. When she says something is coming about fairly early when you mentioned it brings great transparency, and they're supposed to provide was it maybe some regulation, because I'm trying to understand as you search for that section whether she is talking about some new provisions, because I am looking at the full extent of the amendment. Because if you found the section where she talks about the something is coming, because she mentioned the transparency. Let me see. I'm going to squint at this thing here so a bit. Don't
She,
move too far. She explained that the new bill makes provision to cover. Okay, stop right there. She says she explained that the new bill makes provisions to cover the generation systems that are part of or connected to the public grid. I'm not even going to read anymore. The new bill, because the new bill, as far as I'm concerned, is she's talking about what the amendment says, right, Caswell? Because if you tell me if you're amending a bill and you are and I'm debating this bill, I'm going to look at the document before me. All the amendment says on the first page, it says um, objects and reasons. The bill will make provision for the exemption of the supply of electricity. Don't change that section from there, Kimar, leave that there. The bill would make provision for the exemption of the supply of electricity from renewable energy resources from all or any of the provisions of the Utilities Regulation Act, Chapter 282, where that exemption is required in the public interest. It goes over on the other page and it says arrangement of sections. 1, short title, and 2, amendment of section 35. So it should be the new bill. And it goes on, the short title is a bill entitled an act to make provision for the exemption of the supply of electricity from renewable energy resources from all or any, this is just a repetition of what I said, but this is how it is set out, or all of any of the provisions of the Utilities Regulation Act, Chapter 282, where the exemption is required in the public interest, enacted by the Parliament of Barbados as follows. And it goes on. The short title, it goes 1. The Act may be cited as the Utilities Regulation Amendment Act 2023. Amendment of Section 37 of Chapter 282, which I went through earlier. And it goes to Section 37 of the Utilities Regulation Act, Chapter 282 is amended by inserting immediately after subsection 4 of the following. The minister may, on the recommendation of the commission or on his own initiative, exempt the supply of electricity from a renewable energy resource by a renewable energy producer from the application of all or any of the provisions of this act, where the minister is satisfied in all circumstances that the exemption is required in the public interest, quote unquote, full stop. And in accordance to how this thing is done, the next thing goes on. This is where it says, read 3 times and passed by the House of Assembly on the day of so-and-so, speaker. Read 3 times and passed by the Senate this day, president. That's where they sign off. There is nothing in the bill, and this is kind of funny, so I have to go up close to my screen. As Kimar was reading, she said, she explained that the new bill makes provisions to cover the generation that the systems that are a part of the connected this and so on and so on. Where in the bill does it speak to those things? She did not speak much to what is in here and what power it gives her as minister to
What
do
it
the
does,
thing.
Maxine, also, Kimar was reading and he was talking about, she was saying some words to the effect that something about the town planning permission thing. But you missed the town planning part here, and then you read it. You know, I didn't say it, you know you read, but you didn't really think about town planning.
I didn't go all the way down there. The
No,
point I was
because it's not
making,
there.
because it is not. Oh, you mean the act? No, it's not
Yeah,
here.
the act,
It's not
the
here.
act. She's
It's
saying
not here.
you no, they were coming to, oh, this is what we will do according to this. No, if you can pass this legislation and you
But
can
they
give
didn't.
it, you gonna tell the people why the act is being passed, and if you're gonna say it's subject to the town planning legislation, put it in here.
Precisely. And that's the point I was making. So she then went on to talk about shortage of batteries and the world situation. Talk about the bill. And in fact, what I would say, and because I started reading Ms. Dujon's contribution, and if you look at her contribution, she has listed out in a very systematic way 10 concerns. And I had mentioned the lack of clarity. I talked about the broad ministerial discretion, granting the minister discretionary powers to exempt renewable energy producers could lead to arbitrary decisions, creating uncertainty and potential for favoritism. She then went on to talk about insufficient criteria for exemption. The bill does not outline specific criteria or conditions that must be met for an exemption. The lack of specificity may result in inconsistent application and potential abuse of the exemption process. 4, inadequate public consultation. The bill does not require or outline a process for public consultation before granting exemptions. That is why we had things before the FTC before. And remember now, Caswell, as you pointed out, Emira, Barbados Light and Power, is also a renewable energy generator. So they could then say our rates are tied into renewable energy. Let us set our rates ourselves and or go to the minister and forget the whole exercise that we've gone through for 30 something, 40 or more years. You know, I mean, then they talk about potential for market distortion. So beyond lack of public consultation, lack of public input may undermine transparency and accountability. Potential for market distortion. Exempting certain renewable energy producers from regulations may create an uneven playing field, disadvantaging other market participants and distorting the energy market. 6, environmental impact oversight. These are serious concerns. The bill does not address how the environmental impact of exempted renewable energy projects will be monitored or regulated. Remember, under the principal legislation, There is provision for review and monitoring, raising concerns about potential negative consequences. 7, erosion of regulatory authority, granting the minister the authority to exempt entities from provisions of the Utilities Act may weaken the regulatory framework, potentially energy sector. 8, there are 3 more here. 8, ambiguity in language. The language used in the bill, particularly phrases like required in the public interest, quote unquote, is vague and open to interpretation, which may lead to legal uncertainties and disputes. 9, lack of sunset provision. The bill does not specify a time limit for exemptions, allowing them to continue indefinitely. This absence of a sunset provision raises concerns about the long-term impact on regulatory oversight. And finally, it goes on, absence of appeal mechanism. The bill does not outline a clear process for appealing decisions made by the minister regarding exemptions, which could limit the resource available to affected parties. It is important to note that a thorough review of the existing Utilities Act should be given to the public in order that they may be able to voice their concerns since there is no opposition in the House. That was from Felicia Dujon, and then there's a Peter Thompson, but I've read a lot, so I will pause there. But the point is that you can see, colleagues and audience, that in fact what the public, members of the public have taken time to dissect this and to make some very serious concerns known. And I think others should do likewise.
Yeah. Someone is asking here, do we have a group of lawyers, excuse me, Caswell, do we have a group of lawyers other than Watson who are dedicated to advocate for these issues in the interests of citizens, like the Jamaican Lawyers Group? And in all areas, we've been asking for lawyers. And you see more and more, Mr. Franklin, because they're passing so many bills, there's no opposition in there. So the bills are just flying through. I mean, so quickly, it's more than we can even keep up with, and we have to come on a show like this and begin to break it down, because the average person in Barbados does not understand what is going on, Mr. Franklin.
Yeah, I can tell you something though that's going on. You remember the Prime Minister and everybody is talking about there will be we're going renewable energy by 2030.
Mm-hmm.
That's 6 years from now, because this is basically 2024. All right, 2024, just a couple of days down the road. So in 6 years' time, there will be no need for a fair trading commission, because the minister will determine, make these determinations. So the fair trading commission now, if you follow me, since they're going to go fully renewable, and the minister can remove any of these entities from the control of the Fair Trading Commission, it will mean that these people will be setting their own rates, and the Fair Trading Commission can't do anything about it, because the minister would have done it in the public's interest. Bear that in mind. I do not know what is happening to this country. You ask about lawyers in the public's interest, or the, I can't remember the exact word you use, or the comment the person used.
Mm-hmm.
But let me give you some examples of, at least one example of lawyers acting in the public's interest. We have lawyers in the Senate, and I go to disciplinary hearings and see I'm representing a worker from a government entity, and who is representing the government entity? One of the lawyers in the law firm of a senator, independent senator. What do you expect? You think that independent senator can go and rock the boat? Huh? So that's and something. A lot of lawyers in Barbados rely on government to get work, and insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
So they sell out to both insurance companies. If you get in a car accident and you go to the lawyer, The insurance company give you a couple of cases, man, and yours like up. Now you got cases now against the government, and you got lawyers, and the lawyers, and the next thing you get government work, and that is the problem. That
Mm-hmm.
if we're gonna get help, we gotta get help from outside. People who don't have any irons in the fire in Barbados to come do the business and help us because we are not getting it done. Tricia Watson is one in a, if there's a thousand, one in a thousand. I don't see. You see any other lawyers jump into her to assist her?
Miss McLean, you're muted if you're speaking.
That I was no, I was saying to Caswell that Trisha Watson is the equivalent to my brother, the late Wendell McLean.
I was just going to make that point.
He spent over 30 years taking on like some power reading, engineering documents, accounting documents, legal documents, and he did all of this. And Bajans every time would say, boy, we want Wendell McLean. Now they never said, let me go and help you understand or analyze the document yet.
But worse yet, when he ran, oh, we want him, he's the best man. But when he ran, the better able to represent people, they vote BLP, DLP. They forget Wendell McLean and what he was doing for the people of this country.
Years. 30, as I told people, Caswell, the only time I remember Omar brought him a half a pig 1 year. So that was no, but this is the problem. You see, so I mean, the kind of work that Kimar does, as a young man, the research and so on. We have an economic society. How many economists do we hear? You talk about lawyers. How many lawyers have come forward to challenge anything? They will challenge if, I suppose, to get government contracts or something. But no, this is the kind of problem that we have. I mean, a lot of people are not prepared to do. Marcia, think about the energy and the effort and the research and the whatever that you put into doing this program. Mondays, was it Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Yeah.
Saturday you have brainstorming sessions and other kinds of things. It is a lot of hard work, and people really and truly figure, well, I could pay my utility bill or I can do whatever, and let them go there and do it, and I really want to use this forum right now again to say, I've said it to her in person the last time I saw her in person somewhere, and I said to Ms. Watson, I want to say thank you because I saw what my brother did for decades, and he did it by himself. And it was interesting because I can tell you that on the other side, the lawyers that it was Barbados Light and Power, Bartel, Barbados Telephone Company, it was then or whatever, received hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees sitting on the other side of the table from him,
Yeah. Miss McLean, we only have 3 minutes left, and I know I promised everyone that we're going to have Rickford Burke from Guyana, but they've had a big development. As you know, tomorrow is a big day for them, guys, panel, and so they are involved in a lot of research because apparently there's an hour and a half video that was done by Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, and it's loaded with a lot of untruths in there. And so they are doing right now. They're on Zoom. They are researching because they have to combat that in the media. And I told him I totally understand. However, what he said is that if we can get on his page, I'm waiting. And I sent Kimar some stuff. I sent Dave a link as well because I'm operating with a new computer. And so I'm a little challenged in that area. But if we can get onto Rickford Facebook page, we can probably try to so this is what is happening, but not everybody has Facebook. And so on. So I was trying to, what we were going to do, Kimar, is to carry share that screen, share the Facebook screen, on this, just as though you go and get the articles, you just share the screen, and between yourself and Dave will be able to do that, because this is another very, very important issue that we wanted to look at tonight, because tomorrow, as far as I remember, Mr. Franklin, tomorrow is the day that the
The
Gonzales
meeting.
meet. The
Yeah.
meet, and I'm hearing that the Prime Minister Mia Mottley is supposed to be a mediator as well. Can
Well,
anybody confirm that?
there was a news item that she was traveling to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to be part of. I'm not sure exactly what her role will be, but she'll be present. So there was something in the news. I heard it at least twice today.
Wow, wow. How did she insert herself in that? You see, these are the challenges that we're facing here in the region, because, as Caswell said, is there any other prime minister that's going to be there apart from those two?
I don't know, but let me put on my foreign affairs hat because I like to look at things. My whole question is what there's a process that CARICOM has been report CARICOM and the Commonwealth, because I heard a news item today about the Commonwealth. They have been reporting it was agreed and supported that they should go to the International Court of Justice. And there's that report. And now, as you would have heard from Rickford, there was this escalation which runs counter the actions of Venezuela ran counter to that, because Venezuela was part of that process. Then they decided that they were withdrawing from the process. Now, if you are going to sit, I'm not sure. You see, I don't know what the agenda is. If you're going to go and say, look, let us get you back on that track, and they're able to convince them on that, fine. But I don't know what their objective is, and I would wait to hear. But the key thing is to get, from my perspective, is to get the party, because the aggression is on the part of the Venezuelans, you know, and so it is to get them back on track. But I don't know, when you bring the two parties together in St. Vincent, what is their objective? Because as you would have heard, this is Venezuela claiming with what is equivalent to 75% or more of Guyana. Because if you look at a redrawing of the map, they would end up and Suriname on the other side. There have been some issues there. They would end up with what, an airstrip for a country, So I'm not sure what the purpose is, and I would say they haven't indicated, because they haven't indicated whether they're seeking to get them to get back to the agreed process, or if they're seeking to get some quote unquote solution, which I would find interesting, because you can't, I don't know
Yeah,
that. I don't put it this way: the Guyanese government's position has been, this is our territory, and we
right.
want the international court, to rule consistent with what had been said before. So if they're going to sit down, if you were looking to deviate from that position, before you go, you have to consult with the people of your country. You understand? I
Yeah, yeah,
don't really
before
understand what it is that they're seeking to do,
to
other than
accomplish,
say,
yeah.
look, other than simply say Venezuela and Guyana, we are all in this. We have worked closely together in the past. Let us get back to the original agreement that we will put it in the hands of the ICJ. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, I would find it. So, if they can get that to happen and get things to settle down, that would be good. But
Yeah,
if they are talking about a solution in the absence of consultation and so on,
that's
I would
crazy.
have to wait and
Well,
see.
we have his picture up. Kimar or Dave, I'm not sure who.
If you have a.
Let's see if we have anything going on. Kimar.
Not as yet. It says waiting for
It
for
begins
Bert.
at 10 o'clock, so it's supposed to begin at 10 o'clock. So just about now. So they probably haven't started.
But, it's at 21, 10 minutes after.
Okay.
It's at 21:10. So
Mhm.
we're waiting for a few
Oh,
more minutes for it to start.
right. But
Because I have it. I pulled it
yes,
up too. But as soon as you said, I went on
yes,
YouTube and I got it. But we're
right.
waiting.
Yes. You got it on YouTube or Facebook, Mr. Franklin?
YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. Oh, it's YouTube here. Okay, okay. All right. So, folks, you can either stay on and watch it with us, or you can watch it on by yourself, right? The live starts at 10:10. Okay. This is a battle that our neighbor is involved in. This is a serious battle. Can you imagine? Almost 75% of your country, Mr. Franklin. And the question I want to ask, Mr. Franklin, do you think the USA has an interest in Guyana? Why do you think it's a that it's out of the goodness of their heart that they are helping Guyana? What are your thoughts as we wait on the broadcast?
It is very simple. Three little letters. OIL. That will define the Americans' interest. The Americans will
Marcia,
stand up.
But
sorry, go ahead, Cassie.
let Mr.
No,
Franklin
no,
finish.
the
Go ahead.
Americans will assist because one of the largest oil, if not the largest oil producer in the United States is in Guyana right now. And they have the contracts to carry most of Guyana oil. Guyana only getting pittance out of the oil. The most money going toward an American
Exxon.
company. America will defend its interests. So I don't believe, and I don't think that Putin is willing to fight on two fronts. One in the Caribbean because Mayo already threatened him, so he better not come down here. that's, that's David.
This girl's been laughing all the way in the back.
Yeah, so
They're
you got
hearing the laugh. They're
you know,
hearing the
so
laugh.
so I think this is like Cuban Missile Crisis and Russia and that kind of stuff. They're going to be nobody's actually going to fire a single shot, and they might put sanctions one way or the other, but they're not. And Guyana and Venezuela already has sanctions, and it is like Barbados. They're impoverishing this place. Like the mayor seems to be one impoverishing every place you go. Venezuela, no, Barbados, oh Lord. I don't know what she's doing out there. Trust me. The last time she went to Guyana, the government of the Granger's government fell, and you had the votes were not counted. Yes, they were counted, yes, but when they discovered that none of the votes, people who had been long deceased actually cast them, and Gonzales may count them. Don't
Yeah.
forget. I will never forget that.
I think they've started, Mr. Franklin. They've started. Okay, go ahead. Whoever, yeah.
Are you hearing anything?
Yeah, we can't hear anything. I'm not sure who is. Oh, it hasn't started as yet.
No, it didn't start yet. They just put up a little.
The picture.
Yeah, so
Marcia,
these are
you
the
asked
people who
who
died.
died.
These are the people who died in that crash.
It looks, I think so. I think so. Yeah, gave their lives in ultimate sacrifice in defense of their country and our national heroes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Mm-mm. Okay, you were saying something, Miss McLean,
Yeah,
about
you were
the
asking.
U.S. Yeah.
Yes, you were asking about the interest. At the end of the day, as Caswell said, the Americans, on the commercial side, in terms of oil production, they're the ones benefiting. Now, if there is any action on the border in terms of a who's gonna arm the Americans have a major weapons industry too, so they will be selling weapons and artillery and all kinds of things. I mean, look at the amount of money that they're pouring to areas war. Look at what they did in Iraq and everywhere else, in Afghanistan, the amount of billions of dollars in
What
weaponry
they're
and
doing
so
in
on.
Ukraine now.
So precisely so their business sectors. There's war is business too. Unfortunately, the lives that are lost. So when I would say I'm very cynical when I look on these things and
So then
has it started or I was just hearing.
I'm hearing that it started, but I'm not
Yes.
hearing anything here.
I may exit so I can go and listen on online because I really would
Mm-hmm.
want to follow this. So
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
think I
yeah. Well, if it's giving trouble here, guys, because we were just for I thought they were only on Facebook. So what we can do, we will go and find the live. This is on YouTube. It's a response to Prime Minister's Ralph Gonzalez interview.
The volume is starting now.
Okay.
Kimar, you know that Fred is wearing a suit too.
It doesn't seem like we're going to hear it like this. So if everybody could, I'm not sure on who is I can't hear anything. So we probably um
I'm gonna exit Marcy if you don't mind.
yes,
So I
yes,
need to do
yes.
something while
All
I
right. So
listen.
guys,
So
good night. Good night to everybody. It was a wonderful show. And please go on to Rickford
Rickford,
Burke Live. And as I said, thanks for an exceptional night as usual. Thank you, Miss McLean. Thank you to Himar for gracing us with his presence. He didn't wear a suit tonight, but thank you.
leave
And
Kimar
thank you.
alone.
And thank you, Mr. Franklin. Thank you so very much. It was really wonderful. Thank you, opposition. And let's go and listen to Rickford. Okay. God
Yeah.
bless you.
Bye
Bye
All
bye.
bye.
right, good night.
Bye bye.